and gentlemen, let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Scale of 1 to 10, immediate number locked in. Beers, do you have a number?
I'd say so.
Should we say it at the same time? How do you
Say it
want
at
to do
the
this?
1, 2, 3, go.
4.
I put 0.
Oh, interesting.
Really? I said, honestly, it feels like almost 0.
I'm shocked that I'm the highest of the group.
Yeah, well.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, a Friday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, and Beards. We got you for the next 4 hours heading up until 2 o'clock. A lot of stuff to get into today. Some NFL football, some college football to talk about. We will hear from Matt Derrick, Kendall Gammon, Mick Shaffer, Andy Reid. We got the cuts today. Tell you what's on tap. All of that stuff to get into. I spent all day. Today's a great day, by the way, because I spent all day yesterday thinking that it was Monday.
Huh.
Because I had Monday off, right? Mm-hmm. Come in on Tuesday, and then Wednesday, traveling back, kind of felt like a Sunday or whatever. So then I get in yesterday, and I'm like, all right, we're back. See you guys
Monday
again.
mode.
It felt like a Monday mode, and then I got home, I'm like, oh, wait, tomorrow's Friday.
Yeah.
What a fun day.
What a good week.
Yeah, all right. It's another really cool day, by the way, because today is show number, and I like to number all the shows. Today is show number 810. How about that?
Wow.
Huh? Wow.
Look at that.
Wow. I'll tell you what, there's nothing better than winning, is there? Remember that one? That's a great line. Oldie but goodie. Number 810 today. 810. Show number 810. And they said it wouldn't happen. They said, I bet you can't get to 100. Said, I'll times that by 8. 811? I don't know. I'll let you know. Let you know on Monday if we're here. Boy. How many people lost their over-unders on that?
In Roman numerals, also, most people don't know this, but 810 is just WHB.
No kidding.
A lot of people, the X's and the L's and the I's and the V's. Wow. You don't need all that.
No.
WHB actually just translates right
crazy.
over.
No, it makes total sense. I can see it. I can picture it right now. All right, 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us to be a part of the show.
We're about 750-ish Super Bowls away from really having some easy cross-promotion here.
We'll get there.
We're going to get there, though.
I just hope I'm around for it. You know,
I just want to see that one, you know.
Just want to be here for it. I don't know that I will. Odds say no.
You don't want to count yourself out. You don't want to say you couldn't live another 750 or so years. I mean,
I don't know what's going to happen over the next 20, 30 years in advancement in medicine and technology and everything.
Exactly.
I have no idea. We see all of these movies from the future, and they, there was one, I don't remember what it was, there was like a bed, sort of looked like a tanning bed, but you would sit down or lay down in it, and it would scan your whole body, and if there's anything wrong, it would immediately kill whatever it was. It was like, oh, you have cancer there, but gone.
Was that like... Boy,
I think that was Elysium.
It might have been.
Dude, it might have been.
It might have been.
Because I also saw this movie.
And I thought,
and
wow.
have no further memories of it at all.
That's like the only thing I remember from that because I'm like, wow, that'd be awesome. That'd be so cool.
Beards, I think it might have been Elysium.
Yeah, I think it was.
By the way, great pull by you, Beards.
Unreal. I could have sat here forever. I forgot this movie existed.
I couldn't have guessed 100 movies. And I'm the one that brought up the movie reference. Only because I remember that about them and nothing else. If somebody said, hey, have you seen Elysium? I might have said no. Have you seen Elysium with Matt Damon? No.
I would have said that I skipped that one.
Nope, I haven't seen it. Well, it's really cool. They've got this thing that almost looks like a tanning bed where they lay down. It's in the future, and it sees anything wrong with your body and immediately fixes it, and you get back to full... Oh, yeah, I have seen that movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 2013 or so? Yeah,
totally,
I saw that.
I've totally seen that movie. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe we'll be here for Super Bowl 810.
There was I think there was a Tom Cruise like Oblivion or something.
I've
Yeah.
seen that.
Movie right around the same time.
I've seen Oblivion.
This was the time when I was going to a lot of movies and a lot of just sort of middling sci-fi. That was the early 2010s were just a lot of middling sci-fi.
I had a weekly routine that on Friday after my show, that night I would go to a movie
That's fun. I like that.
by myself.
Yeah.
I don't care.
No, I like.
I
You know who's talking to you during a movie you're at by yourself? Nobody.
Dude, I have long fought and stood on this hill, willing to die on it. That why is it not socially acceptable or a social faux pas to go to a movie by yourself when you are encouraged not to talk?
Yeah. Turn off your phone and shut up.
Yet, people can just go to the mall by themselves all they want and walk around and shop when you can have conversations and talk and do those things. Why is it I can go to the mall or somewhere else and be by myself, but going to the movies makes you a loser if you go by yourself? No! It is really nice. Just there. Don't have to worry about anybody else going to the bathroom.
Right.
Don't have to worry about getting anybody else food or popcorn. You get what you want. You get there when you want. You don't have to worry about, oh, there's only a single seat over there, which, by the way, I'm probably not going to a movie that's going to be jam-packed. Don't want to go to one with, starting.
I'm not going to a midnight premiere.
No,
I'm
not
going
at
to
all.
a Friday matinee.
Absolutely.
Relax.
So, yeah, I would do that almost every single Friday. Now, I was living in a new city and hadn't really met anybody, but it was nice.
Yes.
It was like my get away from everything, the world go away, and I get lost in this movie for a couple of hours.
I am 100% with you, and I would say that we should go see a movie together sometime, but that would defeat the purpose. So we shouldn't go see a movie together sometime.
Let's go to a movie together where you walk in at a different time than I do and we sit separately. And then we leave and we go, hey, I know
Jason!
And then we talk about the movie because then you're
Ooh, that's
encouraged to
good.
discuss said movie
That's
on
fantastic.
ride home.
I love that. I love that. That's
There you go.
there's a real kind of pina colada vibe there that I'm
Yep.
not 100% sure I'm signing up for, but
Yep.
for the most part, I'm in.
We figured it out. All right, 913-912-4810. Text says, Matt Derrick going to stage another sit-in? Or does he not like you as much as he likes Josh? Is there a sit-in today from Matt? We'll find out.
I think it was really because there were no pressers that day because the Chiefs were playing on Saturdays. I think what freed up his whole afternoon. But yeah, I don't know if he has anything else he wants to protest or whatever. But the whole gang in studio again today. We've got another in studio Friday, wire to wire.
Text says, all right, so we're laughing at the irony of your loneliness.
Always.
But it's not that. It's so...
It's a good way to watch a movie. Especially now that you have kids. You didn't say this. You didn't say this, and I'm not making you say this, but going to a movie with kids feels like a punishment.
Somebody called me a sociopath one time because...
I do apologize for that, by the way.
because
somebody else.
Because I drove 8 hours from Louisville to home here without the radio on one time. And somebody's like, you're a sociopath.
Oh, just silence?
And I said, you don't have young kids.
Oh, wow.
Your job is not headphones
Yep.
for 4 hours
Yep.
listening, driving the sound directly into your ear. The silence is just so relaxing and beautiful. And the whole drive was just so nice. Like that, you can't drive that long without the radio. Oh yeah, I can.
I don't
Oh,
know
yes,
if this
I
makes
can.
you more or less of a sociopath in this scene, but I've got you now mentally just with a big, just content little smile on your face. You know, you're not showing teeth or anything. You're just smiling, just
No,
driving
just-
for 8 full hours. Maybe you got a little
relaxing.
candle lit like on the floorboard, just setting the mood in there. Just driving in silence with a big smile on your face. I totally get it.
I think that would be a safety concern. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I don't typically just try to relax and
Put
and
some
fall
cucumbers
asleep.
over your eyes while
I'm not
you're
gonna do that,
driving?
no.
Is that a problem?
Not going to do that. That's probably not something I would attempt to do. But yeah, it is. Very
I support
relaxing.
these. I support everyone in their single person little zen. However you find that, that's important. You got to be able to spend time with yourself.
The ride home the other day, wife fell asleep for a couple of hours. kids are in the back. They're either napping or they've got their headphones on, and I just turn off the radio.
Dad's time.
And that's why I wasn't able to tune in until after Cynthia. Cynthia was over, and then it's like, all right, well, I guess I'll put in my headphones now since other kids are up and they're listening to the music, and I don't want to hear the music.
I don't need to hear this again.
I'm already driving the whole way. I'm not trying to listen to that music.
I could not possibly be less offended by you choosing silence over this show on your drive back.
Yeah.
I completely understand.
I made the decision that a lot of people make at 10 o'clock.
Yes. Silence is better than this.
Let me choose silence. All right, so somehow that's how the show lines up.
It
But also,
sure is.
Lee Sterling comes up later on this hour. Paramount Sports get you set for a fun weekend. Huge playoff implications going on around the NFL this weekend. The playoffs in college football, K-State, Alabama, coming up tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock down in Nollins. And there are, and we can get into this at some point today, even with Matt Derrick or whatever, 9 teams have clinched the postseason. All right, there are 14 spots in the postseason. 9 teams have clinched a playoff berth. Only 9 teams are eliminated. There are 14 teams for the 5 playoff spots available. 14, and this is when you expand it, right? You got 7 and 8 teams. You got some, teams that are going to be that probably under 500 or at 500, right? The AFC South and the NFC South both could be under 500 in making the playoffs and winning their division. But you expand it to 7 teams in each conference, and you've got 5 spots and 14 teams. And a number of these teams playing each other over the next couple of weeks. I mean, there are playoff games the next 2 weeks. There are playoff games next week. There are playoff games this week because there are eliminators when it comes to the NFL. I mean, Miami and New England. It's like, oh, well, is that a big game? Yeah, it is. It is a huge game for them at noon. New Orleans and Philadelphia. Well, what's so big about that game? Because New Orleans can still win their division. But they're playing the Eagles. Well, is Jalen Hurts going to play? I don't know. Plus, the Eagles still have to win a game.
Right.
And so, what happens with that? Carolina and Tampa Bay. I have zero interest in that game.
None.
Except for both can win that division. And if Carolina goes to Tampa Bay, they would be either leading or tied. Either way, they'd be in position to win that division. Imagine Carolina firing Matt Rule and then making the playoffs this year. Minnesota and Green Bay. Well, Green Bay can still make the playoffs, even though they're not going to win that division because Minnesota's already wrapped it up. Pittsburgh and Baltimore. The Steelers are 1 game out of the playoffs.
That one's unbelievable. Weirdly, that's the hardest one for me to believe.
The Steelers are 1 game out from the playoffs. If the Bills get the 1 seed and the Steelers somehow make it in, the Chiefs will play the Steelers in the wild card round again this year.
How did that go last time? My memory is a little fuzzy.
It started rough. Rough.
I would take that Chiefs-Steelers matchup again.
I would too. But I'd rather have the 1 seed.
As would I.
And then take the Steelers in the divisional round when they beat the Bengals.
That would be fabulous.
Because
if they could just handle that for us over here in Kansas City.
Because that's the crazy part about Monday is that Buffalo can be the 1 seed or probably the 3 seed. I don't see the scenario where Buffalo is the 2. Because for Buffalo to be the 2, they'd have to lose Monday and then Cincinnati lose at home to Baltimore when Cincinnati would, 1, have the division on the line and the number 2 seed on the line. To then say, well, we'll face Buffalo in a couple of weeks at home as opposed to going to Buffalo if we lose this game and we win the division and we lost to Baltimore earlier this year. Bengals losing that game would be the only scenario where Buffalo would be the 2 seed. So Monday night is kind of 1 or 3.
Yeah.
Buffalo is the 1 seed. You get a week off. You play at home the next 2 weeks. Or the 3 seed, you get a home game, and then you go to Cincinnati. It's massive. Massive. And the same thing for Cincinnati. Cincinnati, you're the 3 seed. You get a home game and go to Buffalo. Or you're the 2 seed. You get a home game and then host the Bills at home if you win on Monday night. It is.
And if the Raiders or Broncos could pull off a miracle, the Bengals could still have a path to the 1. I don't think that's going to happen given the state of those teams, but they do still technically have an outside lane to that.
What's really interesting, and I went to DraftKings this morning because I'm like, okay, so what are the odds for the 1 seed? Oddly enough, the NFC not on the board.
Yeah,
The 1 seed not on the board. It makes sense. Buffalo is minus 120 to be the 1 seed. The Chiefs are plus 135.
Yeah, that's closer than I would have expected, I think.
But here's the thing.
What's this game?
Buffalo's minus 115 to win against the Bengals. They have a better chance of being the 1 seed, according to DraftKings, than they do to beat the Bengals on Monday night. It's slight, but it's minus 115 to win outright, but minus 120 to be the 1 seed. And I just don't see a scenario where they lose Monday and they get the 1 seed. I really don't. I really don't. Because I would take the Chiefs and Bengals to lose. Chiefs lose one more, and then the Bengals lose in Week 18.
I wonder if those will just be even by the time Monday comes around.
It might be.
Because
if the Chiefs beat the
Broncos, and then at that point you just have it there. That's super interesting, though.
Because the Bengals are plus 450, which makes sense because they still need the Chiefs to lose one more.
Right.
I just wanted to see them like, okay, what are the Chiefs? I can get them at plus 135 right now to be the 1 seed.
Man.
Before the game on Monday night, if the Bills lose Monday night, that might be like minus 250.
I'm hopping into the DraftKings lab here. I got to hop into the lab.
It's just odd. And I get it because Buffalo has multiple scenarios to be the 1. They win out, they're the 1. They lose, and then the Bengals lose a game, and the Chiefs lose a game. They're the 1 still. So they've got a couple of different routes. Whereas the Chiefs and the Bengals have 1 route apiece. Chiefs win out, Bills lose. Bengals win out, Chiefs lose. Those are the 2 scenarios there, and it requires Buffalo to lose at least 1 time. Both of those teams. So just thought that was interesting, and Monday. I mean, the number 1 seed doesn't have to face the 2 or the 3 in the divisional round. I mean, you've eliminated.
It's huge.
You've eliminated one of the tough. I mean, there are 3 teams in the AFC.
Yes.
That can win it, and you would only have to face one of them if you're the 1. You probably have to face both of them if you're the 2 or the 3. So the 1 seed, just knowing not only it's not only the bye for me because Cincinnati made the Super Bowl without getting the bye. Chiefs made the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay without a bye. They had to play all 3 games, and then went and played Tampa. Yes, they had a bye when they went and played San Francisco, but it's been proven you don't need that. Mm-hmm. To me, it's a matter of just matchups, and how do you avoid that? Are you in a position where you're the 1 seed and you could face off against, well, I mean, if you're the 1 seed and Cincinnati, I think Cincinnati would be the 2. If they're the 1, that means Buffalo would be the 3. I think Jacksonville is definitely the 4. I think the Chargers are the 6.
Yep.
So that would leave Baltimore and Miami for the 5 and the 7. Well, yep. Miami, I would guess Miami at this point.
Right now it would be Miami, but
odds on favorite.
That could certainly change.
But that would be then Miami going to Cincinnati, Chargers going to Buffalo, and then Baltimore and Jacksonville. And the Chiefs would be sitting there saying, we'll get the winner of Jacksonville and Baltimore or the Chargers.
Yep.
And, hey, if we get the Chargers, that means Buffalo is out.
Yep.
That means Buffalo has been eliminated, and then it'd be Jacksonville, Baltimore going to Cincinnati. So you'd probably be setting up a Chargers in Cincinnati or a Chiefs at home against the Bengals. Because if the Chargers are going to Buffalo and winning, I ain't going to say, well, the Chiefs are going to beat the Chargers then. Because the way they're winning games, I don't really want to say the way they're playing, because they didn't exactly just dominate they didn't beat a bad, what was it, Colts last week that they got a bunch of turnovers and everything. I mean, they didn't win 35-3. They kept
Nick
getting
Foles
turnovers.
Colts and
Yes, exactly. They're winning games. But they win the next couple of weeks, and then if they, in round 1, go to Buffalo and win, then I'm not going to go, well, the Chiefs, Chargers, they beat them twice already, good to go. No, that is a scary game.
They beat them by a total of 6 points, and now there is a healthy Joey Bosa who, I don't have the quote in front of me, but talked about kind of how much healthier he's going to be now after the most recent procedure. Super interesting.
Oh, cool.
Good timing, right? All of the elements that you've touched on are why I think this year the 1 seed it's always important. We did the schedule show the day the schedule was released, and I was talking about the 1 seed because I think it's really important. If you think that there's let's say the Chiefs and Dolphins play 10 times. I think the Chiefs win 7 or 8 of those games. Yeah. Hard to win in the NFL. So let's say 75-ish% chance you advance there. It's a 100% chance if you're playing, no one. Which is to say nothing of another week of health and conditioning for a McCole Hardman. Another week where Kadarius Toney's hamstrings can just be on ice or on a heating pad or whatever you do with hamstrings. There's another week where no one's going to get hurt. Nothing weird's going to happen. Juju's not going to get concussed. Those type of things just are completely wiped out of the picture, plus more time to prepare for your next opponent. But the additional thing...
You won't see the 2 or the 3 seed.
Exactly. The additional thing this year is that I do think the Chargers are legit scary. I think the Dolphins are maybe a little spooky. I think the Ravens are a little spooky, but I think the Chiefs kind of feel like they have them controlled. There are 3 teams a cut above in the AFC this year, and you don't want to have to play both of them to get to the Super Bowl.
We like to do the whole, this happened last year, so what would be the team that did it this year? If there's a Bengals this year, it's the Chargers. The Bengals last year. If there's a Bengals from last year, this year,
I agree.
To me, it's the Chargers. You've got the quarterback. You've got the offensive weapons. If healthy, you've got some defensive playmakers that are there. They can go and win. They can go and win those games. Can they go to Buffalo? Yeah, because let's say, if they're going to Buffalo in the wild card round, that means Buffalo lost on Monday. That means Buffalo would have struggled in a number of games and still found ways to win, and then lost in Cincinnati. And then a couple of weeks later, you're facing off against the Chargers that are ascending or feeling like they're ascending. Yeah, the Chargers can go there and win. And then it would be the Chiefs and Chargers. And LA certainly feels like that's a team they can beat. Just as the Chiefs look across the field at the Bengals and go, that's a team we know we can beat. We've made mistakes. We've shot ourselves in the foot. We beat ourselves against these teams in the Bengals. Like Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce in the New Heights after the Bengals lost. And Jason saying, I think you're probably going to see him again. And Kelce said, I wouldn't hate it. They look across the field and go, we beat ourselves. All we got to do is play our game. We beat that team. Chargers, the exact same. Chargers are looking over the Chiefs going, don't throw a pick 6. Keenan Allen, don't fumble. Get a stop after you took a lead with 1:50 to go. And then Mahomes does what Mahomes does. It's easier said than done, right? Much easier said than done. Get a stop there. They look across the field at the Chiefs, and they're not intimidated as in, oh, my God, we can't beat that team. We can't beat that team. It's just not happening. That's not the case. It's a confident team, especially if they look and go, we're healthy now. Not fully healthy because they've lost some guys for the season, but if you've got a healthy Mike Williams and a healthy Keenan Allen, does that change things in LA if Mike Williams doesn't leave the game after the first drive? That's massive in that game. Now, maybe Mike Williams is, making the plays that Josh Palmer made, and it's like, the same thing happened. It's just Mike Williams, not Josh Palmer.
No, Mike Williams has 3 touchdowns a game against the Chiefs, and no statistical stat line will change my mind.
Yep.
3 back-breaking 60-yard touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Chiefs were the 1 seed in 2020. That's right, because they were 14-1 and then 14-2, because then they played the Browns, and the Browns that were just made for the red zone. Made for the red zone. That's what they were. So yeah, it's an absolutely massive weekend, man. It's a massive weekend and a massive game on Monday night.
The Chiefs play on Sunday. Whoa, crazy. Not the biggest game of the week for the Chiefs. The Chiefs' biggest game of the week doesn't involve them. That's my take.
Do you get if you're a member, if you're a player on the Chiefs, do you get together and watch that Monday night game?
I think you should.
Yeah.
I think that's. Tell you what, they'll be watching somewhere.
There will be some tweets by Chiefs players on Monday night.
Yes, I think that's correct.
There'll be like if Buffalo loses, there'll be like an eye emoji from like somebody. That's it.
I'm turning on Colin Saunders' push notifications on Monday.
A GIF of like the guy rubbing his hands, like something like that. There'll be one of those things. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I do want to talk a little bit about the Raiders, Derek Carr, the AFC West moving forward, and then L'Jarius Sneed traveling with DK Metcalf, not on Southwest because that wouldn't happen, but traveling with DK Metcalf, what it means moving forward. We heard Dave Merritt talk about it. We can play some clips from that, also get into that with Matt Derrick. And I also went back and looked at the Chiefs' DVOA Football Outsiders. I talked about it a little bit yesterday, but then breaking it down before the bye week for the Chiefs, since the bye week, the overall, where are they, and is there more confidence that should be had in this Chiefs defense than maybe we're giving them, especially before that Seahawks game. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Hardman, or as Booger would say, Hardiman, or because I like getting names pronounced correctly, by the way, so anybody that doesn't pronounce it correctly on my bleep list.
A few moments later.
Derek Robinson, things like that.
Who's Derek Robinson?
Is
he DeMarcus Robinson's brother?
Yeah, the Royals player, Derek Robinson, the old Royals player, Derek Robinson. Big fan of his.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I will hear from Lee Sterling coming up in the next segment. Matt Derrick hanging out with us in the 11 o'clock hour. Kendall Gammon at noon. Mick Shaffer, 12:30 or so. 1 o'clock, hear from Andy Reid. We got the cuts still to come right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The news that came down a couple of days ago of Derek Carr, and it's been talked about nationally. We talked a little bit about it yesterday, and certainly on this radio station, it's been talked about a lot in what happens moving forward with that. Is that something that we saw, was a possibility? I think most people had said that. I don't think it was a possibility that the last 2 weeks they would say, hey, we're going to go with Jarrett Stidham and you're benched and please leave the team. Or him saying, I'd like to leave the team. Or it was mutual that they came together and discussed it and decided it was best for all parties involved to, not be around the franchise these next couple of weeks. But the Raiders now moving forward. Chandler Jones on the IR. Derek Carr on the leave the facilities are. The Broncos, with all that's going on there with Russ and firing Nathaniel Hackett. We thought all offseason, and this sort of playing into not only what we thought this year would be, I'm talking about now moving forward. The AFC West, we wondered, hey, could the Chiefs dominate the way the Patriots did? Where the Patriots were getting home field advantage and all of these inflated wins because the AFC East was crap for a long time. They were 6 wins a year. They were 6-0, so you got those things that worked in your favor. And this offseason was about the Chiefs that are going to be battling in their division for the next 5-6 years, that if Josh McDaniels can get that offense going in Vegas with Devontae Adams, Chandler Jones coming in, the Chargers and Justin Herbert and their offensive playmakers, and they sign Mike Williams, and they've got the defensive guys too, and the Chargers win every single offseason. And then, of course, the Broncos were a quarterback away from being one of the best teams in the NFL. And it was going to be this year, Chiefs taking a small step back, maybe retooling, difficult to win the division. Next year, year after that, maybe a couple of years when the Chiefs' salary cap situation is in much better health than the other teams because they're sort of pushing their chips all in. And now moving forward, where does the AFC West rank with the other divisions in the AFC? Third? If we're sitting right now moving forward.
The entire AFC East is still alive in the playoff picture.
And you've got Buffalo. Miami looks like, Mike McDaniel, I think, can coach a little bit.
Yes.
I don't know what the future of Tua is. I think he's had 3 concussions in 14 weeks. Yep. I mean, they're saying 2, but come on. I think he's had 3, which is really scary for someone to have that many concussions in that small amount of time. That can start to become chronic and an issue that can cost him his career. So I don't know what's going to happen there. The Jets feel like what if the Jets go and trade for Derek Carr? That roster with Derek Carr. Look what they're doing with Mike White.
Yes.
And maybe Mike White is the guy. I don't know. So, what they can be. So, Patriots are still the Patriots, right? Every year.
They have
Buffalo.
Bill Belichick, and next year they might not have Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. So I can see things turning around quickly.
So the AFC East, to me, moving forward, has surpassed the AFC West. And then you look at the North. You've got the reigning AFC champions. You've got an MVP quarterback on another team. You've got one of the better coaches in the NFL in Mike Tomlin, that somehow, some way, the Steelers are still alive with that motley crew. And then you've got Cleveland that has a pretty good roster. I don't know what their future is. I don't know what Deshaun Watson looks like when he starts to, work off the rust and all of that stuff, and maybe next year he turns into being back to Deshaun Watson. The AFC North is better. South is not.
South is not. That one's easy.
South is not.
Not the South.
But the AFC West was the gauntlet for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Yep. And what we've seen this season is the Raiders are retooling and restructuring. They don't have a quarterback. I don't know what to think about Josh McDaniels, or at least I don't know that he's going to be able to get the Raiders turned around or even that organization. And Denver is in real dire straits, and the Chargers haven't yet paid Herbert.
Yep. It creates an ecosystem here where I think in the East, the North, and the West, you've got two legit, really good quality teams. But then if you're looking at the overall health of the division, look at the bottom half of that. Patriots and Jets, and I think probably the Steelers and Browns are in better places than the Raiders and Broncos are.
I agree.
And the crazy thing about it, I mentioned this, this might be the second or third time I've mentioned this clip, but Benjamin Solak tweeted out like, oh, here's the Chargers after their entire offseason in the whole AFC West, only for the Chargers to lose by 6 points to the Chiefs. And it's the Thanos clip of all that for a drop of blood. And like that's been stuck in my head now for the last several days because I can't summarize it better than that. All that for a drop of blood from the Chiefs. And now also you can look at how the AFC West tried to retool this way. It was with a lot of older players that they had to pay some real money that cost assets to acquire. And that's not the most sustainable way of doing it. I think the Chargers will be sustainable because they've got the quarterback even after they pay him. Mm-hmm. But the rest of the division was trying to easy bake a roster, and it backfired on Russell Wilson, and it's backfired with Josh McDaniels.
And we look at it now, and we say, we know that Buffalo, we know Cincinnati, we know that the Chargers, the Broncos, the Raiders were building in an effort to beat the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Even though the Bengals did beat the Chiefs, but it's still building in an effort to, okay, now we need an offensive line because we got pressured, and if we get the offensive line, all that stuff. So we've seen these teams do that. But in the AFC West specifically, when you're saying we've got to go up against that team twice a year and to make the playoffs and even get a home game, we got to beat that team and finish first, or we're going to be playing on the road every single playoffs.
Yeah.
You force the hand of the other teams. Like, they look at it with their backs against the wall, and they have to make a move that maybe if they were in the AFC South, they wouldn't make. Would the Broncos have gone out and traded all of that stuff and got Russell Wilson, or would they have said, steady the ship, maybe we trade a first rounder this year and next year to move up and get, a quarterback, and that's our guy, and we got him on a rookie contract with some of these other guys on lower deals, and we're going to do that because we look around the South and is it Jacksonville? Is it Houston? Is it Indy? No. Is it Tennessee? But the Chiefs, you don't have a choice. No. Your roster right now, the players you have, and you feel like we got to take advantage of this right now. The Raiders, we got to take advantage of this right now because I don't know what happens after Derek Carr. Let's bring in Devontae Adams and Chandler Jones. We were so close last year. We made the freaking playoffs, okay? We're right there. Now we got an extra weapon, and we got another defensive player that can go and put pressure on Patrick Mahomes. We can catch him. Again, if they're in the South, are they making those same moves and putting themselves in salary cap situations and saying, we're going to do this with Derek Carr, or are they taking the long road and saying, we're going to build this thing and not put ourselves in 2 years to be looking and going, wow, we're the Falcons, and now we've got to dump everybody. You force the hand of the other teams is what the Chiefs have done, what the players, the coaches, the front office, what they have done, and they have still, even doing that, put themselves in position to be the class of the West moving forward, and with salary cap situation in a couple of years that in theory should free up when that's the $35 million salary cap you would be giving to Tyreek Hill. And you're not, because you didn't sign him. So that can go to Chris Jones or somebody else. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from Lee Sterling next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810.
who's going to win and by how much. You're about to find out from national sports handicapping champion Lee Sterling on The Zone. Log on to ParamountSports.com or call toll-free 800-400-9741 to get started.
Oh, it's a Red Friday in Kansas City, and Chiefs fans are excited about the Denver Broncos coming to town, and we're excited to talk to Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports. We're wrapping up 2022, Lee, but the NFL season still got some time to go, and that means you still have specials.
We do, and I did it this year for the first time. I knew a lot of people would want to jump on board and watch games and bet games, and this way they don't have to sign up for the month. So 10 days. It starts from today, 10 days football, college football bowls. There's 3, 4, 5 bowl games every single day. You've got NFL action, and it looks like I might release 5 or 6 games, maybe the most we've released the entire year in the NFL on an NFL Sunday. See some great situational plays, and then hockey's been rolling, so is basketball. So all 3 sports, 10 days, just $97.
That sounds great. ParamountSports.com to get that deal. Let's talk some NFL. Lee, you've given us 5 games to look at. These aren't necessarily on your releases, although sometimes they are. You do these occasionally. They've flexed this one to Sunday Night Football because they got to have something on Sunday Night Football. Pittsburgh doesn't look like much, but the Ravens can still win their division. People are all talking about Cincinnati. It's a big game for the Baltimore Ravens. They're 2.5-point favorites.
And if you like Baltimore like I do now, you play, because there is a chance that Lamar Jackson could play. And if you get it at 2.5, you got a great line. It'll probably go up to 5, 5.5 if he does end up playing. And first game, they ran for 215 yards in that game. Now, they won't have the luxury of playing against Mitchell Trubisky, who threw 3 interceptions in that game, who was horrific. But it's not like Kenny Pickett has been great. I mean, the rookie has only thrown 3 touchdowns in the last 5 games. His yards per attempt is in the low 6s here, and that's bottom 5 in the NFL. These 2 teams just play a similar type game here. I just think that Greg Roman's running attack is really starting to kick it into high gear right now, and I think they're going to do enough to win and cover. I'll go with Baltimore here. Late at 2.5, 26-20.
All right, on to your Miami Dolphins, who are struggling, to say the least, man. It's 4 in a row. They're back on the road again. They must have had every game at home at the beginning of the year, because this is 4 out of 5 on the road against a team that they're fighting for playoff spots, right? This is the Patriots they're going to face. Patriots are, just your typical home favorite here at 3 points.
So this is pretty much the battle to get into the playoffs as 7 seed, and then you get drubbed by Buffalo, Kansas City, or an outside chance Cincinnati in the first game. So they'll get fed to the Lions. Tua's looking good in the first half. With like a minute and a half to go in the first half, they're up by 10 points. They're at midfield, starting to drive again, and then all of a sudden they fumble. They go to the half only up 7, and then after that point, it unraveled. Tua obviously had a concussion. His 3 interceptions, these were like JV high school quarterback interceptions. So we later found out that they found the play where he had another concussion. He'll miss this game. Teddy Bridgewater's just not been good. I mean, you talk about a guy that's really regressed. At one time, a starter. I don't even know if he's middle-of-the-road backup at this point. So Patriots, they relish playing backup quarterbacks or quarterbacks that aren't starting anymore. Listen to this list. They beat Zach Wilson twice, Mitchell Trubisky, Sam Ehlinger, Colt McCoy, and Jacoby Brissett. So I think they're going to add Teddy Bridgewater to that list here. And Dolphins also allowing just not the same team on the road, 31.5 points per game on the road this season. They've lost 4 straight games and even, like I said, blew that lead last week. I think the Patriots are the right side here, 20-15.
Yeah, that schedule caught up to the Dolphins. We'll see how they finish this year. Another team that's, both these teams, same thing. Jets and Seattle, they're hanging around in that spot where there's still glimmers of hope to do things, but both head in the wrong direction for sure. Seattle got beat here in Kansas City last week, and the Jets are a mess right now. But listen, we can still bet these and play them, right? That's the fun of gambling.
Yeah, both teams are really, struggling. Seattle's lost 5 of the last 6 games while scoring just 15.6 points per game. Zach Wilson was benched late in the third quarter. of last week's game for pretty much the rest of the season. They said he'd only thrown for 92 yards late in the third quarter and an interception when they pulled him. So Mike White steps back in. Offense isn't great, but they are different when he's in there. Weather looks like it's not going to be great. He actually is a really good foul weather quarterback, and they've been better away from home. They're 4-3 straight up, 5-2 against the spread here, and the Seattle defense has struggled the last 5 games. When even facing the likes of guys like John Wolford, Sam Darnold, and Brock Purdy here, they've given up 27.6 points per game here. I think the Jets are the right side, 24-20.
That'd be a nice thing for them to have another win there, because it has been better in New York, but it's just they haven't been able to finish it.
Well, if you look at one thing, 4 units on the field, Jets defense clearly the best by far.
Right, for sure.
Yep.
Now, there's nothing skimpy about this next one. Monday Night Football is the kind of stuff you dream of this late in the season. Buffalo at Cincinnati. Buffalo can basically lock up the 1 seed. Now, they still got to play another game, but if you beat Cincinnati on the road, they're probably going to win out and get that 1 seed, which that would get them at home during the playoffs. They won't have to go on the road where they've lost playoff games before. Cincinnati needs to keep winning to win their division. They're both red hot right now. Buffalo's a slight favorite on the road on Monday Night Football.
So Buffalo's defense has an incredible reputation. People, and I look at the tape, I don't think they're as good as their reputation, not even close here. So they're much better until they play a good pass offense, and they just they've been lucky. They've gotten to face the Jets twice, the Patriots twice, Titans, Steelers, and Bears. I mean, you kind of get the drill here where I'm going. I just think that Joe Burrow is playing at a high level. Believe it or not, he has never played Buffalo in his short NFL career. So I think he's going to be up for this. I think that his receivers, his 3 guys are almost all unguardable here, and I think they're the right side at home. I'm going to take Cincinnati here. 27-24.
Yeah, maybe Buffalo's defense in September would have been good, but they don't have a lot of those guys right now, so it'll be tough for them. That would make Chiefs fans happy. Now, hopefully Chiefs fans are already happy. They ought to beat the Broncos. They're facing them at home. But this is a big number, too. We're maybe almost up to 2 touchdowns here. The Broncos have fired their coach. There's, unrest there. But will the Chiefs kind of keep the pedal to the metal and cover this big number?
They were not the right side, I thought, last week. They did win and cover, but I just thought that, Seattle had to go for it a couple times on 4th down, and then the turnover, the horrific interception here. So even though the Broncos seemed to mail it in last week versus L.A., versus the Rams, they just seem to play much better against division rivals here. I think the black cloud is lifted. The coach is fired. It seems like that first game, these players just play at a different level. They're playing for playing time. They want to solidify their position for next year. And how about this? 8 of 11 Bronco losses have been by 7 points or less. Russell Wilson has been horrible. But the one good game he had this year was against the Chiefs in that 34-28 loss here. Chiefs, have we mentioned before, 2-10-1 against the spread their last 13 games following a win in a really miserable 1-8-1 against the spread the last 10 games here, laying 10 points or more here. I think the Chiefs win 31-24, but I'll take the 12.5.
Yeah, the Chiefs will just take a win, especially if it's coupled with that Bengals win on Monday night. That would set them up next week against another disaster, the Raiders, to get that 1 seed and be home again. Right. Patrick Mahomes has never played a road playoff game. It's just wild to me. Now, of course, the Super Bowl where they had to play in Tampa, that was quote-unquote neutral site, but it was a true road game, I guess, in that sense. All right, Lee, tell us about the game of the week you've got dialed up for us and the specials at Paramount Sports.
Yeah, they want to get the game of the week, Jacksonville. Believe it or not, Jacksonville.
First place, Jacksonville, right?
First place, Jacksonville, laying the 4.5 at Houston. Do they just keep rolling? Or can Houston, which has played some close games, can they keep it tight? You want to get this game for free, just call 800-400-9741. Again, the number, 800-400-9741 to get Jacksonville and Houston on me. It's a big play. It's a client play. 800-400-9741. And if you want to get on the 10-day special, it's never been this price. Never in my 29-plus years. 10 days, all the NFL, all the college football bowls, basketball and hockey. We're rolling in both. Just $97. Just go to ParamountSports.com.
That sounds great, Lee. Good luck this week.
Thanks, Todd.
All right, that's Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports. More Zone coming up next on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You're in the zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You guys have been doing a lot of agreeing. Can I disagree with something?
Please, go ahead. Yes,
Lay
do
it on us,
yes,
and then
do
we
it.
will double team you.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Beards, Matt Derrick for the hour or three. We'll find out. I'm not sure.
Just never know when I'm going to stage a sit-in and take over.
I mean, did you do that just because I wasn't here? Were you just missing
Josh? Looked lonely.
Yeah,
that's been true for
he
a long
looked
time.
lonely, and I had nothing better to do.
Wanted to get out of the house.
That Beards, can you clip that for cut so I can have that just as a reminder of how my high school experience went?
He looked lonely, and I had nothing to do. So,
not the first time I've been on that side of just some nice pity.
I guess I'll hang out with him. So, yeah, I mean, nobody else is asking me to prom, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I said maybe because I was waiting for another option, and it never came.
And Drake was, I think, in the middle of like a 36-hour board shift. So I figured, hey.
Closer to true.
He was running on fumes. He was just a zombie, just staring straight ahead into the abyss. Yeah, that is
there
right.
was nobody else in the building because, it was December 23rd.
Eve.
Yeah.
The eve of the
There's
eve.
no need to work on December 23rd, everybody.
Right. No. Well, I mean, it's the same thing here. Like, is there anybody in the building today?
It's
New Year's Eve.
It's a pretty thin.
I got some rock star parking out there today.
Exactly.
That's right.
See?
I wish I would have put up a little sign that said reserved for Matt Derrick.
That's right.
God, I would have. I got to do that next time.
You didn't even need somebody to go and take your car for you.
Right? Yeah, we could have. I could have been your valet. You could have been our Russell Wilson.
The thing is,
we get an office for you today.
Oh, I would love an office.
That can be your
in here.
office
That'd
today.
be great.
It's just for today, but that's yours today if you'd like it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
On a day like this, we actually open up the valet parking for just general parking for anybody. So there you go.
Give me an office, and in less than 24 hours, I will destroy the morale of this organization.
And by opening up the valet parking, it's just one spot that Soren parks in.
Right. So
there you go.
Throws his keys to whoever. The guy catches it, gives him a ticket. He goes in, 6 o'clock, gives the guy $1, gets his keys, drives away.
If you're going to be our Russell Wilson, I'm going to be your Jerry Jeudy, Matt. I'm going to publicly have your back while also being visibly frustrated with you during the actual show.
And undermining me during it.
Yes.
And he's going to say boy with 2 eyes.
Yeah, that's
B-O-I-I. He is my boy. He is my boy. So Jerry Jeudy coming out and saying a quarterback has never motivated him the way that Russell Wilson motivates him. Take that, Drew Lock.
It makes sense when you think about who he's played with previously.
It's ridiculous,
a short
man.
list. Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater under the bus.
Yeah.
Didn't he play with Jalen Hurts?
Well, okay, interesting.
And Tua?
I wasn't thinking about college at all.
He said ever.
It's a different game, but he did say ever.
He didn't say pros.
No, that's a good.
I mean, that's Saban's job. Let's be honest.
That's the thing is you don't need a quarterback at Alabama to motivate you. When you look over to the sideline, it's just Nick Saban making any expression.
Now, did Jalen Hurts have an office in Alabama?
Good. Another great question.
Yeah, you don't need a quarterback to motivate you when you look over to the sideline. You're like, oh, hey, there's Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle. And maybe I should just be self-motivated because if I want to get on the field, I'm going to have to beat out some of those guys. So, you know what? Motivation accepted. Challenge. Hold my beer.
I really was thinking about last night. I really want to go up to Mahomes today and ask him if he has an office in the building. But I know I can't get to the question without laughing. So.
You should ask him, though.
I'm curious.
What would his response be, though?
Here, give me your educated guess.
I think he'd laugh, too.
I think he would. Give me your educated guess, Matt. Is he just grinding film in the quarterback room or on the iPad at home? It would. You know who wouldn't be offended if Patrick Mahomes had a special spot at Arrowhead? This guy. Everyone who watches Patrick Mahomes.
Nobody would be offended.
Because he plays better than Russell Wilson. So I don't. Does that seem? Was that a total outlier thing for you on the Russell Wilson office? Is it because of how poorly he's played?
Because
some quarterbacks have it.
We like to have fun with him.
It's pretty funny. I mean, and like you said, I mean, maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's a quarterback room. Who knows? Maybe he does have an office.
Here's the thing.
I don't know why he would want an office.
If Russell Wilson having an office was standard, we wouldn't talk about it, or it wouldn't be that big of a deal. It would immediately come out and say, well, this quarterback has that office, this quarterback has an office. No, it's kind of like you put in a contract of different amenities that you want to go along with that contract. I remember reading one of the contracts. It was Jose Guillen with the Royals, that in his contract, he got every road trip, he got a corner suite of whatever hotel he was at. That was part of his contract, that the Royals had to put Jose Guillen in a corner suite anytime they're on the road.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you You can't get it if you don't ask for it.
Right.
So,
That's right.
I mean, Russell Wilson's like, I want my own office. Okay.
It almost feels like, though, one of those things that as an agent you throw into a contract so that you can get a concession on something else.
Yeah.
And the Broncos were just like, yeah, we don't care. Sure.
Yeah,
you want an office? Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can do that. It doesn't really cost us anything. And
Give
then,
you 2.
Kyler Murray got a hostage agreement, and Russell Wilson asked for a rider. Like he had like the green M&Ms only, and I'd like to all of us to shout "run" or "pass" as the plays are happening.
There's a reason that some artists ask for green M&Ms only.
Exactly.
You know what the reason is?
Because if they don't get the green M&Ms, then you got to make sure they're doing everything else right.
Exactly.
You
Wow.
You ask for green M&Ms because if
Attention
there's
to detail.
green M&Ms in your dressing room, that means they have taken care of all of your other requests for the actual show.
It means you don't have to worry about the lighting falling on your head.
Yes.
That's
you
a
don't
great
have to worry
point.
about the sound check.
So it sounds like they're being pretentious.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're being elitist.
Attention to detail.
But it's a challenge that if the green M&Ms are not there, what else? Now we got to go and check everything else because what are they missing? Is there going to be a sound check there? Is there going to be the lights, whatever it might be, the staging, all of that stuff? If they miss this, what else did they miss? That's more important.
If Russell Wilson asked for green M&Ms, I think the Broncos gave him a big bowl of Skittles.
They was to call Nathaniel Hackett.
There's Nate Hackett got some Sour Patch Kids for you.
Big bowl of Hackett. I would like green M&Ms. I like everything taken care of. Here's Hackett. Figure it out.
Nathaniel Hackett should have asked for an office in his contract.
Nathaniel Hackett's office is actually Russell Wilson's locker. He just sits there.
It's like, dang it. If I had an office, they couldn't have fired me so fast.
The chair that Russell Wilson would sit in if he was there in the lockers is where Nathaniel Hackett has one of those standing desks and just typing away and grinding through film and rewinding and fast forwarding on his iPad. Russell Wilson is sitting there in the big office with the whiteboard and the whole depth chart and everything. He's just navigating. He's holding coaches' meetings in that office and meeting with George Patton or Peyton, whatever. That's the way I imagine it, and it's going really well. Going really well. Let's talk about this. We discussed it a little bit in the previous hour before Lee Sterling, but that's what's going on in Denver. We know what's going on in Vegas, where Derek Carr has now left the team, whether that is by his own choice or it was suggested. It's kind of like in college football. Well, this kid's transferring. Well, yeah, the coach kind of told him to. Said, hey, maybe you should look elsewhere. We'll help you. Well, all these kids transferring, man, they just fight through an opportunity. This kid doesn't want to work.
Josh McDaniels showed up and said, I'm bringing my own luggage, and I got it at the Dollar Tree. And so Derek Carr's like, okay, I'll hit the portal.
I'm bringing my own luggage, and it's Stidham. Yeah? And I got it at the Dollar Tree.
I'm bringing my own luggage, and it's pooey.
I got it at Five Below. It's right with me. So some of that is like you whether it was mutually beneficial for both to not be there. But either way, there's drama going on there in Vegas. Devontae Adams says, I'm going to stick by my guy. In this whole situation of who's right, who's wrong, when Devontae Adams comes out publicly and says, I'm sticking by my guy, his guy ain't Josh McDaniels or anybody else in the Raiders organization. It's Derek Carr and saying he's the reason I'm here anyway. And now moving forward, Raiders, who's their quarterback, don't know. They spent money on Chandler Jones and Devontae Adams. Their offensive line still needs help because we look back at the first and second round draft picks for this Raiders team over the years. Are they going to pay for Josh Jacobs in the offseason? Franchise him? Seems like that may be a pretty good likelihood that they would franchise Josh Jacobs, keep him around one more year. We'll see. But who's their quarterback? How much do you believe in Josh McDaniels? Again, this is a guy that traded Jay Cutler and then drafted Tim Tebow. So he clearly has his finger on the pulse of who the good quarterbacks are. And Denver, you know who their quarterback is, but they might be better off being in the Raiders situation of not knowing who their quarterback is. Because is it better to know who your quarterback is if it's Russ when you can keep him for 3 more years and then cutting him would still cost you $35 million in a dead cap hit in 3 years? Or we don't know who our quarterback is. We got to go out and find it, but we don't have $100 million dead cap hit this year, or 85 next year, or 60 the year after that.
I would like to point out very quickly that Tim Tebow has as many wins as Jay Cutler does in the playoffs. So take that.
There you go.
And Jay Cutler was roundly criticized for not playing in that playoff game.
Oh, yeah. He was just in the coat on the sideline the whole time, right?
And
Boy,
then,
I forgot about that.
and then like 2 days later, he had surgery because he tore his MCL.
Yeah.
It's like, he's not out there playing? What the heck? And they're like, well, he does have a knee injury. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's
They
like,
made
actually,
a big
he did.
deal of that. That was wild.
Yeah, actually, he ended up doing
They have the same number of touchdowns as well.
Unreal.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, that was an amazing Tim Tebow throw. They
Only
beat the Steelers.
one of them has got a game-winning drive in their stat column.
Hello.
You ever hear Kevin Harlan describe that play? Because he was on the call with Demaryius Thomas in the touchdown.
Has less interceptions, too. 1-0. I think he knows good quarterbacks.
It's a quick aside because Kevin Harlan is a national treasure.
Yes.
And the way that he described that play, what was going through his mind, that when Tebow threw the ball and Demaryius Thomas caught it, he said, there were 3 different guys running across the face that as soon as he, announced this Demaryius Thomas, as Thomas is going around and Harlan is still announcing what's going on, but he said, in my mind, I'm still questioning, is that even Demaryius Thomas with the ball? And he's going, he's across the 50, and he gets a block over there. And in his mind, he's going, is that Demaryius Thomas? I'm looking and wondering is to make sure that is actually Demaryius Thomas.
Wow.
And as he called the play and he scored, he immediately started to question himself and go, oh, wait, is this the new rule? Is the game over now? Because they scored a touchdown. Do they get they get another possession though? It's the new rule though, but they scored a touchdown, and it was a flawless call. You never knew any. And Harlan's sitting there describing and saying it was so stressful because his entire call he's questioning himself about everything, while Demaryius Thomas is going down the sideline to be the first game in overtime to win on a touchdown. That both teams didn't get possession when the new rule was coming into play of that in the playoffs that year. Both teams would get possession unless there was a touchdown. It's great. So, Tim Tebow, all of that stuff. What does Josh McDaniels think of quarterbacks? Can he assess a quarterback outside of, Tom Brady and what McDaniels does with offenses, et cetera? And then who knows what the future is going to be with Denver? Does Sean Payton want that job? Like everybody's talking about Sean Payton as the odds-on favorite right now. They're going to pay him a lot of money. Okay, if Sean Payton takes that job, then he believes in his heart of hearts Hackett is more responsible for the Broncos than Russell Wilson. Hackett's more responsible for the offense than Russell Wilson and his play. And that might be the case. It might be the case. They go get Sean Payton, it could be different. But I'm not sure what the future is going to be. And this conference or division went from Murderer's Row 8 months ago to the third best in the AFC? Third best conference in the AFC now moving forward? As it stands right now?
Could be. I mean, I could go back and forth on who's 2 and 3, but
who's number 1? The East?
Right now you have to say it's the East, although
and I think number 2 would be the North. Because their worst team is Cleveland, and they've got their quarterback, and they're hoping their quarterback will be better.
Yeah, I could.
Where Denver has a quarterback, but their cap situation is just a disaster, and the Raiders are going to be cap strapped, and they don't have their quarterback, and they've got aging players.
And I heard you talk about this later, and I do want to underline it. Mike Tomlin is a fantastic coach.
Unbelievable.
Just totally underrated. I mean, if there's any two coaches that I think are just totally underrated in the NFL, it's Mike Tomlin and Mike Vrabel. Because if you see what they win with, I mean, Mike Vrabel, look what he has done with 0 quarterback. We talk about the quarterbacks in the AFC.
Does Mike Vrabel ever look like he's having fun on the sideline of a football game as a coach?
No, that's the thing he took from the Belichick coaching
would
tree.
you be having fun either if you had that roster?
But I mean, even when they're winning, he always looks annoyed. He always looks like he's just staring at the at your son that you just said, "Hey, your sister's asleep. Please close the door quietly." Who walks in and slams the door, and you just stare at him like. And obviously this is something that really happens. That's what Vrabel looks like at all times.
Counterpoint, does Andy Reid ever look like he's having fun?
That's true. No. But
he looked like he was having fun after he won a Super Bowl.
I think Andy Reid.
Other than that,
Andy Reid and Brad Stevens are the same to me. They sort of are stoic, just sort of standing there watching the games.
I love that you can.
Tomlin always looks annoyed.
I love that you can look at Brad Stevens and Andy Reid and be like, I see some similarities between these two human beings.
I see the same. Right, Brad Stevens.
You're not wrong.
Does
it's
he
just
ever
very
react?
funny.
Does Brad Stevens?
No, there would be Celtics players that would tell the
brothers?
stories of you would never know he was mad until he pulled you aside during the game and be like, listen, you mother bleeper.
Yeah. But Andy Reid, the only time we really see him react is if it's a really bad call by an official. Then he gets upset. But other than that, he's just watching. Playbook, Waffle House menu, watching, go. Where Vrabel just always looks annoyed while he's out there. That he just
There's
can't.
a fine line.
He can't believe that player
Stoic
just
and
did that.
annoyed is a fine line.
They're on their way to a number 1 seed like the last couple of years, and he's just looking in every single play. I can't believe that guy just did that. Are you serious? You just did that? Can we cut him? He looks like every time he wants to cut a player coming off the field. It's amazing. So he's got that down. Vrabel is a really good coach, but Mike Tomlin's got this team with the chance to make the playoffs, and the percentage is low. It's not as low as the Raiders, but they went out. I mean, they need Miami to lose, which could certainly happen, but they can make the playoffs. And they've got Trubisky and Pickett and injuries all over the place.
The fact that he just always seems to have that team around 500, even when he has no quarterback and no roster whatsoever, is amazing.
I remember people talking about, are they going to fire Mike Tomlin? And I thought to myself, if they fire Mike Tomlin, who would be the best coach they can go out and get that would be available? Probably Mike Tomlin. would be the best coach. And the same thing in Baltimore. If they fire John Harbaugh, who would be the best coach they can go out and get and hire? Probably John Harbaugh.
And and this made me. You guys made me think about this when I was driving in, listening to you guys, and specifically what was getting me thinking about it was the Chargers, because you look at it, and we talked about it. The Chargers should be a good team, and they are. They're a good team this year. They're winning some games.
Finally in the playoffs.
They're going to make the playoffs.
I think they are squarely the number 6 seed.
Squarely the number 6 seed.
Pretty solid.
But you look at them, and year in, year out, we're always talking about. I mean, we've talked about it. I mean, this is the 7th straight year of off-season championships for the AFC West for the Chargers. What's the difference between the Chargers and other teams like the Chiefs? And to me, there are teams, Chiefs, Steelers, Ravens. They have championship organizations.
Yeah.
That's what they are. They're going to be that way because they're run like champions. And I don't know if the Chargers are in that spot. I mean, I think a lot of this starts with ownership. And that's why I always consistently say there are 8 teams in the NFL at any one point in time that don't know what they're doing. And it starts with they have a terrible owner, usually have a terrible person, running the organization, sometimes have a bad coach. And if you have all 3, you're in real trouble. And there's some with all 3. But, and having talked to players who have been in with the Chargers organization, it's not a championship organization. Yeah. I mean, and Brandon Staley is a good coach. Maybe he would be a championship coach in another organization. I don't know. Maybe it hits it. Maybe he's just part of the continuing course. But if I'm the Chargers, I want to see what happens when they have a championship coach. When they that's what to me, they need to bring in somebody who's got that pedigree. It needs to be somebody who's either been to a Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl, won some conference championships, or someone who has a rich history of being around those. That's why, I think Eric Bieniemy is going to be a good head coach because he knows and should know how to run a championship organization. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think he's going to get a job this year. But
well, that's been said for 3 or 4 years now. I ain't going down that road.
No,
that path has been paved a lot of times.
It feels better this year than last year, but
that's a track through the forest that you can just see the path that everybody has walked down.
Nobody wants to fall down that rabbit hole. I get you.
Not going that. When he gets hired, he'll get hired, and then I'll say, "Hey, you got hired. You got a job." I'm done with the. He's going to get it this year, but the Raiders are in the same boat. I mean, they're not a championship organization.
No,
I mean they continue to be a clown fest.
That's because that's all they check all 3 boxes too. Yep. I mean. I don't know if they're
going to be. They had owner, they had Mayock, and they had Gruden. Like you had owner, GM, and head coach that were just. And somehow they beat the Chiefs in the year that the Chiefs lost 1 game that year with their starters. It's like, wow.
That was a very expensive bus trip around the stadium.
Drago's bleeding.
That's what they paid for.
Drago's bleeding. He's not a man. He's not a machine. He's a man. Mahomes is a man.
Still paying John Gruden for that bus trip around bus lap around Kansas City.
They got that, man. But one of the things in my overarching takeaway is like we look at what the Raiders and the Broncos and just the AFC West in general and the AFC overall is. The Chiefs have forced the hand of other teams to say, we've got to make either drastic moves or aggressive moves that might pay off or might blow up in our face, but it's better than just treading water and finishing 3rd in this division for the next 5 or 6 years and watching the Chiefs be the Patriots and Tom Brady and hoping 1 year you might get them. No, let's go get Devontae Adams and Chandler Jones. Let's go for it. Let's go, let's go get Russell Wilson and Randy Gregory and pay the money with the salary cap and pay the money in draft picks. Let's make sure we re-sign Mike Williams. Let's go get J.C. Jackson. Let's do some of those things because we have to take advantage right now of this situation where the Chiefs are sort of retooling a little bit, and we can get them for the next couple of years.
And that's the fatal flaw. If you are a bad organization and you think that a player is going to come in and fix your problems, Russell Wilson, everybody I'm blanking on right now, Chandler Jones,
Randy Gregory,
Devontae Adams. I mean, one player is not going to fix it.
Yeah.
Because to me, I mean, especially from seeing this team up close and seeing what they have done in Kansas City, to me, championships aren't won on Sundays. Championships are won Monday through Saturday because it sets the tone for the entire organization. That you got to be a professional. And it is down to the little details like knowing what's expected of you and having people hold you accountable. And I know that's not happening in Vegas. Because part of being holding people accountable and everything, and part of being a team is not throwing your teammates under the bus and fighting with the organization.
I know people on December 30th want a baseball take, so let me get one out here.
Let's do it.
You weren't here for the Ryan O'Hearn DFAing. I don't even know if you've mentioned that yet.
Well, I mean, Piccolo talked yesterday and discussed it, and Jordan Lyles introduced, what about the Royals? I love it here. It's a little bit like you can go from 100 losses to 500, and I think it's a few moves here or there, a few players you can do that. But going from 80 wins to 90, you can go from 70 to 80 wins with a few players. Going from 80 to 90 is an entire organization. It's a complete and total, top to bottom, single A, scouting, development, GM, ownership to get to 90 wins. 70 to 80, that's still 10 wins. Yeah, a couple players here or there, you can do that. 80 to 90 is massive.
The NFL is built for teams to go 8 and 9, 9 and 8 now. Built to be 500. Good luck can get you to 10 wins. Good luck can make you a playoff team. Good luck is not going to make you a championship team.
It's not going to get you to 12 or 13 every year.
No. I mean, it takes a system to get you there.
I thought Beards had a really good point the other day, and his Chiefs take that he had wanted to get when I was driving in. And he said, we talked about this team being a rebuild or a retool. And it's like, wow, and now here they are sitting with 13 wins or 12 wins and maybe going 14-3, and they can get the number 1 seed. And his point was, but is this what a retooling, a rebuilding team looks like when you've got the NFL MVP? So it's one thing to say, well, they're rebuilding. Well, it's not a baseball rebuild, and it's not what the Chiefs tried to do with Herm Edwards, a rebuild, when they went, let's just go all young and be like baseball here and develop a farm system. Like, is this what let's take a step back, let's reassess salary cap and do some things here, make some trades. Oh, but you still have the organization, the coaching staff, the NFL MVP.
Only thing you need to do when you have the NFL MVP is tweak. You really don't even have to retool. You certainly aren't going to be rebuilding. You just tweak.
Yeah, not twerk.
Could be a little bit of both.
Could be a little bit of both.
Well,
the importance of big butts on the offensive line, especially. We've been over that on this show.
That's right. Cynthia Freeland lets us know about the backup booty is not as good as the main booty.
This made me think of something else. Do you know who almost has as many sacks this season as Robert Quinn and Chandler Jones combined?
Chris Jones.
George Karlaftis?
Carlos Dunlap. Frank Clark.
Carlos Dunlap.
Oh. What's Dunlap at?
He's got, is it 3.5? 3.5?
Is Karlaftis not there yet?
Karlaftis is at 4.5.
Karlaftis is probably already there. I'm just talking
I see what
about
you're saying.
Comparison.
Just adding Carlos Dunlap as opposed to Robert Quinn. I hear you.
All these conversations we had in the offseason about Robert Quinn, Chandler Jones.
But what if you combine
Carlos
them,
Dunlap
though?
is almost as good as those two combined.
We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling, and we'll talk with Matt about this Chiefs team specifically, the last couple of weeks, what we think about the defense, where they're at right now. And then a point I want to make on Juju Smith-Schuster that got me thinking when Josh brought up an interesting point about where Juju would rank from 1 through 30 if you're going through and ranking all the wide receivers. If you're saying that's the Chiefs' best wide receiver, where does he actually come in at other receivers in the NFL? We'll do that next.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
If what you're saying is true, then that means I still don't care.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll hang out with Kendall Gammon coming up at noon. Matt Derrick, Chiefs Digest, is with us. So the conversation around MVP has been had for the last couple of weeks, right? And it's Mahomes, and it's his to lose. Although Pro Football Focus, whether you like it, don't like it, whatever, take it with a grain of salt. It's just one data point. Well, a lot of data points encapsulated into one data point. Their percentage is closer than what Vegas has it. They feel like, Burrow and Allen have a real chance the next couple of weeks. Allen goes out there and is brilliant the next 2 weeks, and Mahomes is just against some bad opponents. Well, then Allen can earn the number 1 seed while beating the Bengals on the road and then the Patriots at home. Burrow goes out there and does something spectacular against the Bills on Monday night, and then the Ravens to win the division, assuming the Ravens win this weekend. If the Ravens lose this weekend and Cincinnati wins, they're the division winners. If the Ravens win, it still comes down to next Sunday, Week 18, and he goes out there and puts up crazy numbers, and Mahomes is just, then he could ascend to be the MVP. And so that's just a quick preface to the conversation about, people are talking about who Mahomes has to throw to, right? It's one of the points that I've made, and a lot of people have made is, well, you got Jamar Chase, and you got T. Higgins, and you even got Tyler Boyd. And Stephon Diggs, and, Gabe Davis, it's kind of the same thing with Josh Allen and Mahomes, only Mahomes has been absolutely brilliant throwing the football. If you say, well, yeah, but the Bills, and look at their skill position players, Mahomes has the best tight end that ever lived, and, Allen has a, number 1 wide receiver in Stephon Diggs, but what's after that? Okay, agreed, granted. But Mahomes is putting up stupid numbers with the similar skill sets, all of those things. But when you compare it to like the other teams in the NFL and what the Chiefs are able to do with lesser than surrounding cast outside of Travis Kelce, which is a big outside of the greatest tight end that's ever lived, the best tight end in the game right now. I mean, they are doing it with what feels like a bunch of replaceable parts, a bunch of just interchangeable pieces. Even at running back, too. Like, I like Pacheco, I like McKinnon, I like the group there, but running back can be pretty interchangeable. They go to the AFC Championship game, and, the year before that, you've got Kareem Hunt doing what he does, and then Damian Williams, they win a Super Bowl with, right? They draft a first-round running back, whatever, but now you got Pacheco and McKinnon. Those things are pretty interchangeable. We wondered what it would look like without Tyreek Hill or without Travis Kelce, and we see that now, and they didn't go from Tyreek Hill to let's go and get Chris Olave in the first round. Let's trade up to go get Drake London because we got to have that guy. No, they went and got MVS and Juju and Justin Watson.
And then traded back and took Sky Moore.
Yeah, and did not take Pickens, who's been pretty good. And when Juju's the number 1 guy, he's a fine player. Fine player. But how far down the list do you go before you get to Juju and go, okay, now I'll draft Juju? If you're just drafting wide receivers in the NFL, it's probably a decent trip down the road before you say, all right, now I'll take number 9 for the Chiefs.
And I know you're talking about skill positions here, but I love pointing out, because it's just fun.
Yeah.
How spoiled everybody in Kansas City is.
Well, yes, of course.
Because you're talking about Mahomes being surrounded by, some interchangeable parts. He's got 4 Pro Bowlers around him on the offense.
Well, the offensive line, I agree. We're talking about like who he's throwing to, though.
Like I said, I know you're talking about the
and
skill
the propensity
positions,
to drop the passes. He's not throwing to Chase and T. Higgins
The
and Tyler
offensive
Boyd.
line is also kind of replaceable parts. Like, it's been a little bit worse than it was before in the Super Bowl run.
I want to see you tell Trey Smith he's a replaceable part.
No, they got him in the 6th round.
He's not a Pro Bowler. He doesn't count. You're talking about Pro Bowlers. He doesn't count.
I know. I just want to tell you he's
he's excellent. But they found him in the 6th round, and like they won without him with a good offensive line. You'd love to have him, but I don't know that the offensive line is where does the offensive line stand in the league? Maybe that's the better question from where I'm coming from.
Depends on what metric you look at.
Yeah, but like
there's an attempt to like rank offensive line.
Do it off vibes. Give me your Chiefs offensive line vibe ranking. Are they top 10 in the league?
I think they're a lot better than people give them credit for, because I think that there's some flawed metrics that point to their weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would put him top 10. Honestly, I mean, just as an all-rounded.
That's fine.
I'd
and
put him
more
top 10.
specifically, how it's built to do what they do. Because I mean, they did retool this offensive line, tweaked it a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And, now I think Andy Reid's got him cooking because look at some of the things. Because they like to have an offensive line that runs around and is, can get downfield and do some things. And you take a look at what they're doing in the run game and you take a look at what they're doing in the screen game. I don't think there's any. I mean, maybe there might be some competitors and a couple of teams, but, as far as like downfield blocking, top 3 to me.
Which is why they like Justin Watson.
Yeah.
Because he's not doing much in terms of targets and receptions, and he's dropping the ball. But he's playing a lot because they like certain things. Maybe it's the whole Spags, he's going to be in the right spot. I don't know. You thought he was going to be the guy that caught it every time. 3 drops in the last couple of weeks. But when they signed Juju, and I was happy they signed Juju. I wanted them to sign Juju last year. I thought Juju with Tyreek Hill is different than Juju with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce different than Juju with Travis Kelce. And here's your main guy. Because when the Chiefs were, before Juju had was it the concussion that he missed a couple of games with?
This year?
Yeah, and so
yeah.
there was a run of a few games where it was
concussed against Jacksonville this year.
Yeah. But it was Kelce, Juju, and McKinnon. Those were the 3 guys that were the target share. That Mahomes, it was like, Mahomes is spreading it around, right? But then there was like a 3 or 4 week stretch when it was Kelce, Juju, McKinnon. And Juju was, putting up some really good numbers. Like, there's like 3 or 4 games in a row with Juju with 70 yards receiving, and Kelsey's doing his thing. And look at McKinnon out of the backfield, and he's healthy and fresh and all this stuff. And I think there's an element of Juju and name recognition. So when they sign him, it's like, okay, I know Juju Smith-Schuster played with the Steelers, with Antonio Brown. Had the amazing 2018 season when he had 1,500 yards and, 7 touchdowns. And when you were talking, Josh, on Wednesday, and you were discussing whose ranking was it?
Benjamin Solak of The Ringer has got a tier list here that because we'd kind of had this conversation in vague terms, but he really kind of puts numbers to it. And I'm giving him a little benefit of the doubt on like Brandon Ayuk. I know is an excellent player, but I have not watched much Brandon Ayuk, and I've watched every snap that Juju has played this year. So the national perspective I think matters. But yeah, he's got the tier list up on his Twitter from I think last week.
So here's one of the things that popped into my head as he was going through those names. As you were going through those names of the tier list, before he got to what, number 25, 26 for Juju?
Something like that, yeah.
Juju's amazing season in 2018. 111 receptions, 1,400 yards, 7 touchdowns. Like, okay, this guy is one of the best receivers in the NFL. Right? Big Ben, got Juju to throw to. Second year, what's he going to do as he continues to get better in the NFL? Since that season, here are the players that have been drafted in the NFL. Deebo Samuel, A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jahan Dotson, Christian Watson, George Pickens. So it's one thing to go, this is what I think of Juju Smith-Schuster as a number 1 receiver, a guy, because look what he's done here and done there. But then you say, okay, well, which players would I take over him? Well, in 2018, coming off that before the 2019 draft, you'd be like, okay, he might be top 10, top 11. Look what he did. But we've seen so many really good receivers come into the NFL that how many of those are drafted before you would get to Juju Smith-Schuster? And it's not to take a shot at Juju. I'm not trying to do that. It's more of this is what the Chiefs are dealing with. It's what Mahomes is dealing with. And you wonder, post-Kelce, do they then have to really invest in a legit stud receiver, or can they continue counting on Mahomes to make everybody better, which is not something Brett Veach will ever do, I don't believe. I think Brett Veach will always make it his mission that Mahomes will have players to throw to. This might be that middle sort of purgatory year that you got Kelce, we'll surround with a couple of other pieces, and then we're going to continue building it. And believe me, we're going to have some weapons for you.
Yeah, and to me, I mean, that's why I say, to me, this year is the year that we are kind of seeing the question that was asked, is Mahomes one of those guys? Is he one of those guys who can elevate the receivers around him and turn them into something, more than they are? Because the question to me was, is Juju the same guy he was in 2018, or is he the guy that we saw for the last 3 years? That was the question for me when you signed him. The hope was that Mahomes can turn him back into something close to what he was in 2018. I think he's done that.
He's got the most receiving yards right now than he's had since 2018.
Can Mahomes elevate Marquez Valdez-Scantling to be something better than he was before? A couple of games left, but he's probably going to have a career year as far as yardage goes. As far as maybe probably not touchdowns, but yardage and receptions, probably a career year. The other everybody else, but I think he's also making do with what he's got, and that's the thing is that you don't when you have a quarterback like Mahomes. You can't just surround him with 5 guys off the playground. I mean, we know that because look at what Green Bay's trying to do. That's what they're trying to do, and that doesn't work. You got to have some guys who can play some ball. And I mean, I've said this for a long time, and I will continue to say this. I have no idea, and I do not think that Chiefs fans want to know what this offense looks like without Travis Kelce. You're going to have to learn one day.
Don't want to.
I don't want to. When we
that's the guy that makes it all work.
I mean, 2 years ago, last year, we were saying, I don't want to know what this offense looks like without Kelce and Tyreek Hill. I mean, it's just it's different. And what are they going to do?
Hill was never the key. I mean, it's always been Kelce.
Right, but even if Kelce was the key, you still had Tyreek Hill, who we see what he's doing in Miami and what kind of special receiver he is. That if they had to focus and only focus on Travis Kelce, well, then Tyreek Hill should be like one of the more impressive things is there is no Tyreek Hill. And there are some replaceable parts as the skill position, and Kelce's still doing this.
Yeah.
He's still the focus from defenses, and he still gets open. And he still finds a way in after the catch. And Mahomes even talking about he's become a better quarterback this year because they traded Tyreek Hill, that he said, what was the quote? So often he would go, where's Kelce and where's Tyreek? Where's Kelce, where's Hill? That's where I'm looking. Now it's, I've got to go through my progressions. I've got to find this guy. I got to go over here. This is what the defense is telling me to go to. I've got to throw it over there. And he said he's become a better quarterback because of that. That I think you can get caught in the trap of just saying, I'm going to throw it to Tyreek because, you know what, bleep it, Tyreek down there somewhere. As the meme goes, you can't really do that with these guys, and it doesn't mean it's going to be caught when you do that either, which can become a frustrating part. Which is clearly a frustration that Aaron Rodgers has had. Difference is Mahomes isn't going to the podium and saying, "Oh yeah, it'd be nice if Justin Watson could catch the ball." Well, I give these guys chances, but, they also have to do their job too. What did Aaron Rodgers say about Christian Watson? Oh, you want to catch touchdowns? Run the right route. That was in a press conference. I mean, you want to catch touchdowns, you got to run the right route for me. Like, okay. I mean, does Aaron Rodgers go about it whatever way you want to? That'll never be something you ever hear from Patrick Mahomes.
And which one of them is not competing for championships right now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Packers can still make the playoffs. They had a couple big games
winning
left.
the Super Bowl this year. I'll take that.
I will take that as well.
Bet.
I'll take that as well. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I want to talk defense with Matt Derrick next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Zone with Jason Anderson
That's a clown take, bro.
on Sports Radio 810.
So a quick cap on that conversation. We were talking about the ranking of Ben Solak, and like number 39 is where Juju Smith-Schuster comes in when he's putting the tiers, the elite, the great number one, good number one, fringe number one / number two. Good number two is where Juju Smith-Schuster is in. And then we talked about the different players that have been drafted since Juju Smith-Schuster's amazing 2018 season. There are 19 players that he lists ahead of Juju that have been drafted since the 2019 draft. 19 wide receivers that are listed ahead of him that have been drafted since 2019. There is some talent that is in the NFL at wide receivers, so it's there to be had. And by the way, not all of them are first rounders, not all of them are top 20 picks. It's a number of second rounders and third rounders and things
Cooper
like that.
Kupp, yeah,
And absolutely, yeah. But
that's an outlier.
yeah, but he wasn't drafted since then.
No, that's true.
He was before that. But if we're just simply looking at 2019 on,
yes, fair.
Like you're finding some of those guys. Chiefs defense, Matt.
Yeah.
Where are you with this this team? Are you concerned? Were some of those concerns alleviated with the Seahawks game? Where do you sit in trying to figure out what this defense is, how good it is, and can they go and win a game in the playoffs if need be?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this, and I find it. I still kind of feel this way, and it's hard to be saying this in Week 17, but I think it's still a work in progress. And I think the Seahawks game is a great example, honestly, of that, of the Chiefs and Steve Spagnuolo trying to figure out what they have and how best to deploy it, in that they go to putting L'Jarius Sneed on DK Metcalf to see how that works out. I see them still experimenting with and tweaking lineups and everything here to see what is their best rotation, to see what their best look is. I don't know if they found it out yet, and that's an odd thing to say, but I think to a degree it goes back to the fact of how many rookies and new faces that they've got. They had some injuries and suspensions earlier in the year that really kind of limited their options and certainly didn't get to see them with the full lineup. Then you finally get to midseason and they kind of got to see what they have. And then it was like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe there needs to be some tweaks here to improve some things. I mean, looking at it, and I was going through the other day to look through the last 8 games and across the league.
Yeah.
In the last 8 games, Chiefs are 7-1. And remember, this leaves out the 49ers game.
Yeah.
So that doesn't even include that game. But Chiefs are 7-1, it's the second best record in the league. 49ers have won every game since that loss to the Chiefs. So they've been on fire. And, so the Chiefs have the second best record in the league. Points scored, they're 4th in the league. Defense in the last 8 games, they're number 10. As far as scoring goes. In points.
Points, yeah.
And point differential, I think they're 3rd in the league. Those are championship metrics, and and I want to go in and look at the numbers too for passing. I haven't had a chance to go in to do that as far as the yardage goes and some of the other metrics and everything. But I think they're trending in the right direction.
So one of the advanced metrics, DVOA at Football Outsiders, if you look at weeks 1 through 7, so before the bye week, they came in at number 27 in the NFL defensively in DVOA. They were number 19 against the rush, and they were number 29 against the pass, weeks 1 through 7. Since the bye week that you're talking about, they are number 17 in overall defense, DVOA, and number 10 against the pass. Yeah. That was real. Now you throw in the Rams and the Titans and things like that, which is fine because everybody else has a game or two. Like we don't have to throw in the caveat for the Chiefs of saying, yeah, but they went up against that team that doesn't have a very good quarterback, right? And they also went up against Herbert, and they went up against Burrow, and other teams are going up against teams that don't have great quarterbacks either. They're number 17 since the bye week, since week 8, so week 9 on. And I looked at Buffalo and I looked at Cincinnati. So we talk about those defenses better than the Chiefs. Weeks 1 through 7, Buffalo was number 2, Cincinnati was number 7 in overall DVOA. Now remember, the Chiefs were number 27 at that time. So it was a stark difference.
Yeah.
Bengals, Bills defense compared to the Chiefs. As we've said, they're number 17 since their bye week. The Bills have dropped to number 6 in that time, and the Bengals are number 18. And what And by the way, overall on the season, the Bengals are number 14 and the Chiefs are 21. So kind of the point of, well, yeah, but look, the Bengals are playing better teams. Yes, and so were the Chiefs at the beginning of the season. They were playing better teams too. But now that the Chiefs don't have the craziest schedule, and we see, okay, this is what their defense can look like, and the Bengals are going up against teams that are pretty damn good, now all of a sudden the Bengals are back near the 20s in their DVOA and defense overall. And so there's so much trust in the Bengals defense, but there's not much trust in the Chiefs defense. But since the bye week, the Chiefs defense is graded out better than the Bengals. And there are small things here or there that give me more faith in the defense moving forward, how they played against Seattle, looking at the possessions they had against Denver when it was not a one-score game, the yards per play in other games, the Houston Texans, what they were able to do against them. They certainly need to get better at the quick changes, sudden changes, things like that. But there is some context to be had where there might be more faith and optimism of where the defense is moving forward.
I think there should be. I mean, and this is not 2019. This isn't the Chiefs defense that, reached the midseason and just a light switched.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they went from being fairly mediocre defensively to all of a sudden top 6 in the league. I mean, that the second half of that Super Bowl season, they were fantastic. I mean, that was a big reason why they made that run, because the defense was that good. Is this defense that good right now? No. I mean, the metrics would say that it's not. But is it getting better? Yeah. I mean, it is. There's some tangible improvement there. So, to me, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I see the arrow being up on this team and being pretty bullish on their postseason chances, because I think they're playing better. And this defense, I think also, if you look at it throughout the season, it has, to a certain degree, played to the level of its opponents. I mean, that performance against Buffalo, one of the better performances against Buffalo this season. I mean,
Bengals had 20 points with, 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter?
2 pretty good offenses there. Yeah.
So, I mean, you would take that every day. If you can say, hey, in the middle of the fourth quarter, the Bengals are going to have 20 points. Sign me up. I'll take it right now. Oh, and the Chiefs will have the ball.
Yeah. To me, this is right now, I would say this Chiefs team is looking to me more like 2020, in that I think the offense is a little bit better than 2020. I think the defense is a little bit worse, but that's probably a more apt comp than the 2019 season. But 2020 was also Super Bowl year. I mean, that's why I think this team's certainly in the mix for that.
Should also point out too, overall in the season that, and I'll get a prediction real quick from you, but as we look at McDuffie returning after the bye week as well, but McDuffie overall this season ranks 21 out of all cornerbacks in pass coverage grade at Pro Football Focus. 20% of the snaps, there's 132 cornerbacks that have played at least 20% of their team's snaps. He's 21 out of 132. He's number 4 out of all rookies, but 21 out of 132, in overall. Coverage, he's number 13 out of 132. Trent McDuffie is. L'Jarius Sneed is number 14 in that time. Chiefs have 2 guys that are ranked in the top 15 in the course of the season in pass coverage grade out of 132. So that's been a part of it as well. Yeah. And I wanted to compare it to Kaiir Elam, by the way. Kaiir Elam is number 13 out of all rookies in pass coverage grade, and he's number 63 out of all cornerbacks. So just something to keep in mind when it was you traded ahead to get McDuffie instead of Kaiir Elam. McDuffie's clearly been a better player this year than what. And we're not watching every snap of Kaiir Elam. We are doing that with McDuffie.
And the Chiefs moved up in front of the Bills to get him.
What do you think happens, Chiefs, Broncos? Prediction?
I don't think you're going to see the same outcome that we saw in Denver a couple of weeks ago. Patrick Mahomes is more focused. I think that Denver game was a wake-up call. He certainly has not been turning over the ball or making decisions the same way that he did in that Denver game. I think that the Chiefs' offense will be the focal point of this. I think they're going to be efficient. I don't think they're going to turn the football over. I think they want to prove something, and I think the Chiefs' defense wants to do the same thing too. And they're facing a team that is in absolute and complete turmoil. Sometimes with the interim coach, you will get a rebound. I don't know if we're going to get one from the Broncos. This could be a blowout. I do think the Chiefs win comfortably, 31-10 Kansas City.
Monday night?
That is going to be a boat race. It is going to be fun to watch.
Prediction.
I probably should think this is going to be a defensive struggle, but I think it's going to be in the 30s. I'm going with Cincinnati 37-34.
37-34 Bengals.
Oh, I could live with that. A little 70-plus point performance Monday night.
There you go.
I'd rather it not be that because then Burrow might put up stupid numbers in a win. I'll take a 10-7 win for the.
Hey.
I don't even care.
Mahomes gets you 325 and 3 touchdowns. You're fine.
Just Bengals win. Thank you, Matt. Happy New Year, buddy.
2020.
The Zone with Jason Anderson.
You have no problem giving the credit pie when Marcus Kemp can't catch a bleeping football.
Whoa.
Sorry about that. When Marcus
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, thank you to Matt Derrick We continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Hang out with Mick Shaffer coming up in the next segment. Kendall Gammon is our guest. Freeman Health System, centered around you. Freeman Health System, your local hospital, joining your circle of trust. And also Crown Automotive in Lawrence, your Lawrence new and certified pre-owned Toyota and Volkswagen dealership near Kansas City, Olathe, and Topeka. Experience the Crown difference at crownautomotive.com. Kendall, what's up, man?
Not much. How you all doing?
We are doing just fine. How was your Christmas? How were your holidays?
It was fabulous, absolutely. And you get a Chiefs win. That was a nice thing. I did get engaged on Christmas Eve, so that was a good thing as well.
Last week?
Christmas Eve, yes.
Just
recently. Not a year ago. Just recently.
You did just get engaged on Saturday?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank
that
you
is
so
great.
much.
You got to post more things on more social media
know.
places. This is how we find things out nowadays.
I thought maybe you were just sort of talking about in general, you got engaged on Christmas Eve, so it's always a fun sort of thing. That's how did you do it?
It was just we were kind of crafty. We were actually down in the end zone on the field about 45 minutes after the game.
Mm-hmm.
So the story was just going to take a picture, which is true. We did take a picture, but I did a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Was she surprised? Was she kind of expecting it?
I mean, we talked about things, but she was surprised that it happened then. Absolutely. Yes.
Man, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's
thank you so
that's
much.
really cool. Do you have a date set?
We do not. We do
okay.
not.
All right.
No.
Just I didn't know. Maybe if you've talked about things. Summer, fall. You're a football player. It's not going to be a fall wedding.
No, it's not.
I'm gonna go with yes. Although, you know what? If she wants to get married in the fall, get married in the fall.
Yeah.
Do whatever.
That's amazing. You had a better Christmas than most, I imagine.
Well,
then
maybe so.
I would tend to think so. That's very cool.
Well, with the biggest, that's not the biggest thing, but I had that, and me and my boys had great time, and just everything going well. Have no complaints.
That's awesome. Really cool. It's always good when it's a nice sort of just family, spend time together, enjoy it, get some food, watch some football. Enjoy the family time. Always good. And getting engaged.
There you go. That also.
Well.
She didn't have any conditions like that she's going to need a private office and a parking space or anything going forward?
You know what? We don't know. Those are things that will be negotiated.
Ongoing negotiations.
Absolutely.
Good.
Well, it's funny.
But she, as she went away, she was like, let's ride. So we went there, and, I don't know. We'll see what response we get in Twitter.
She didn't even say yes.
No.
You said, will you marry me? She said, let's ride. Gammon family, let's ride.
And if Russell Wilson is listening, I'm sure he's offended, but that's okay.
He hears everything.
Gammon family.
Absolutely.
Let's ride. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary tomorrow.
There you go.
Josh Brisco
putting a ring on it.
Wow,
that's right.
Making an honest man out of myself.
That's how you roll.
The holiday season's a good time. It's how I roll.
Renee finally made an honest man out of you.
Yes, it was lot of wearing down. We got there though.
Good for you. How about that? Well, congratulations. That is really cool.
Thank you.
You guys had a lot to talk about last
You
week.
did bend over and snap her the ring
That's
box,
exactly
right?
what we did,
Okay.
yes, absolutely.
Okay,
as far as
you
know.
did get down on a knee.
I did.
Good for you. Good
Yes.
for you. Josh did not.
Oh.
Josh was
I actually weirdly long snapped the ring to Renee.
You be you.
Josh was
You be
like,
you.
if I get down on my knee now, I'll never be able to get back up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
It's not happening. I'm wearing the
I gotta keep
pants
the
in this
pants.
family.
Really, that's really my style.
She'll always look down on me the second I get down on a knee. Not happening.
Must be strong.
It would be awesome if you would have long snapped the box to her.
I never was
three and a half rotations.
Never was considered that one. I will say that. It's kind of funny though. We naturally talked about things. This is a second marriage for both of us. We talked about some things, but didn't know what was coming in. But prior than the week, because I asked her if she knew, and she was like, no. But there was a couple times because she goes, there's a few times where you were talking about you were walking, and then you'd kind of start to fall down a little bit and said your knee was hurt, and I thought if that was a setup, I was just like, no, that's just 15 years in the NFL, and the joints are giving out, quite honestly.
Sorry, that's just something you're going to have to
came by that, honestly.
You're just going to have to live with that.
Yes,
That was
exactly
not
right.
That was not a joke. Wait for 10 years from now, okay?
Exactly right.
Yeah, sickness and in health, the knee accounts. All right? So that's going to be a part
I'm
of it.
getting married / hospice care.
At the same time. Well, maybe you marry your hospice care.
There
2
you
in
go.
1. That's great. But you guys had tons to talk about last week.
We did.
About special teams and snapping and
Yes.
holding and kicking. And I've joked a couple of times that I think that the Chiefs' first touchdown on Saturday against the Seahawks was maybe the most watched hold in Chiefs history.
I would agree. Literally when that happened and I was watching, I was like, okay, this ball needs to go in. I just jokingly to myself, I said it out loud. They'd be like, this ball needs to go in. And it did. And the operation was good. The kicks were flawless. Everything went well.
And it did the whole game.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not only the kick needs to go in, it can't like slide in one of the uprights. Like Justin Tucker it right down the middle and call it a day and do that the entire game. And they did. And so that helps.
Well, let's be real honest. I mean, they were paying attention to everything inside and anything. We make a lot of it out here, as we should, and that's what we do. We paid to speculate and talk about things, and that's why it's so popular. But inside the walls, they're watching everything. They're working on everything. They're working on the operation. They're taking it seriously, and they came out and performed well.
Is there anything to Townsend struggling a little bit on the punting? I mean, was just he's allowed to have a rough game and miss a couple of punts. He's allowed to have a 40-yarder.
I would agree. Yeah, I mean, he's got a big leg, and it is what it is. I honestly did not pay much attention to that.
Well, typically we don't have to, but the only reason I noticed it is because twice after a punt, Townsend did one of those like
right,
and he was front the second he kicked it, just like anybody that's that far into their career at their craft, he knew exactly when he kicked the ball it wasn't what he wanted, and he did it a couple of times in the game. So.
Well, and if it was around 40 yards? Do you remember? Let's be honest.
Probably.
I mean, even polar bears are like, "Damn, I'm cold," and so the ball's not going to compress like it should. So you're not going to throw that ball out there as far as you normally would on your punts and your kickoffs.
And that's what I'm saying. He's allowed to have a bad game. I didn't know if maybe it was just coincidence or the whole week and the stress and the talk and paying attention to what's going on the outside that, you know, you get there and there's so much focus on the holding and then you kick one and you're like, oh, great, now I'm having a rough game punting. And, yeah, he's been so good, though. He's a Pro Bowl punter for a reason.
He is, absolutely. And congrats to him and everybody on the team that made the Pro Bowl.
So, earlier this week, Anthony Sherman and Garrick Dieter were on the Border Patrol in the morning. And Nate was asking him and talking about the Derek Carr situation in Vegas. And Anthony Sherman was in studio, Garrick Dieter on the phone, just that setup. And he asked Anthony Sherman, he says, you know, what do you think about the situation going on in Vegas? And the first thing Anthony Sherman said was, Derek Carr's a quitter.
Wow.
He then weighed in and went up, and then Garrick Dieter, and Nate was like, Garrick, what do you think? He goes, I'm with Sherman. He's a quitter. He left his team with 2 weeks to go. I'm always fascinated by the players' response because we're on the outside. And it's like, well, there's reporting about they met, and it was like mutual. It was best for everybody involved to leave. And their point was sort of like, yeah, no, I don't care what the coach. I'm not leaving. You can't force me out unless it's going to get out there that you kicked me off this team. That's my team. I'm there for 2 more weeks. I'm going to see what I can do to help it out. I don't know what's going on with Derek Carr, what's going on behind the scenes, but as an ex-player, does that cross your mind of he left the team, that's a quitter?
It didn't me because of everything else you just talked about. I think that's a fair assessment from Garrick and
the sausage.
And the sausage, yeah, absolutely right. I do know somebody that I spoke with this week who has a little more intel in the situation. I won't name his name, but, I mean, he's aware of Josh McDaniels, and he said he's just a complete tool. I mean, he said, that's basically how he said it, and he goes from the moment he came there, because I played with David Carr, the brother, and I know the Carrs, and I know Derek, and that was never going to work. He goes, those two, the yelling that Josh McDaniels does and how he treats people and everything that goes on, he goes, I knew that would not work, and it hasn't. So it doesn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if really they did sit down and talk about that, and it wasn't just for the public. We don't know. I would say we'll never know, but we probably will know within the next year ultimately what happened. But either way, it's a grease fire inside of a dumpster fire. I mean, it's just a rough thing.
Yeah.
When you see, I mean, I didn't know that you had any sort of relationship with either of the Carrs. Actually, hadn't thought about playing with David.
But somebody that I was around played with David, and then he knew Derek as well.
So I don't know what intel you'd have on that from the specifics of that perspective. But whenever you look now through the lens of everything that this year has been for the Raiders, going back to Carr having those post-game press conferences about not everyone wanting to give everything all the time, not everyone giving 100% as often as they need to. I imagine you saw that as a dysfunctional red flag, but I don't know that I've ever seen a quarterback as the face of the franchise say anything like that about a new administration.
Yeah, clearly it was oil and water, as I said earlier, and I don't know. I mean, did they ask Derek Carr to leave? Did he decide to leave, and so they did it this way? I'm just curious how they went with that. I thought it was interesting, though, the receiver, forgot his name.
Devontae Adams.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, I stand with my QB.
Yeah.
I mean, he's supporting him. There's something going on in there more than we know, as normal. And clearly for him to say, no, I support my QB, tells me there's always more than one side of the story. There's normally three, his, and the middle.
Yeah. That to me is fascinating because he's really good friends with Derek Carr, so understandable why he would probably lean in that direction. But only one of those two is going to be with the Raiders next year.
Right.
And
exactly
it's Devontae Adams, and they're not going to fire Josh McDaniels anytime soon.
Well, and I don't think they can because of the money situation. I think they'd like to, but
so this coaching staff and Devontae Adams are going to move forward without Derek Carr at quarterback, and look, they'll figure it out. I mean, Devontae Adams has talked again since then, and it's like, there's a lot of things going on, but, we've got to go out and do our job, and we got to go play football, and, and Derek's my guy and all of that stuff. So, yeah, they'll go into the offseason. Derek Carr will find another, a job, and he'll be a quarterback somewhere. They'll bring in another quarterback, and Devontae Adams will be the wide receiver for the Raiders, getting paid a lot of money, playing for Josh McDaniels, and they'll try to figure it out.
And getting paid a lot of money, you're allowed to voice your opinion much more freely than most people are in the NFL.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It doesn't hurt him. He can say whatever he wants, and he's going to be okay to a degree. He's a classy individual also, but all the same.
That weight scale of money to opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you don't hear long snappers coming out that often and getting pretty vocal with everything. It just doesn't happen.
I want to hear James Winchester come out and talk about what the hell's going on defense. I am tired. If I see one more broken coverage in the secondary, I swear, all right, I am done with this.
Yeah. James Winchester, one of the nicest human beings you will ever be by. So that would not happen, but then it wouldn't happen from any long snapper.
Yeah.
If they're smart.
Right. Any smart long snapper.
Is there a long snapper out there that could get away with that? Like,
I mean, you're saying
probably
something.
Kendall.
You're saying something. They're like, we could replace you, right?
Yeah.
Like, I do. Yes.
Only if you're replaceable.
Absolutely.
You weren't replaceable, though. I think you could have
hung in there.
You could have walked into somebody's office and demanded something happen. I want this guy on special teams. Damn it.
I could not. And everybody's replaceable. It was the best temporary job you could ever have. I always said you're renting the seat.
You know what? It's
the Shield was there before, during, and will be there after your career.
It's how good of a quarterback do you think Derek Carr is? He's such a mixed bag.
I think he's above average. I think if Derek Carr were playing for, because a lot of this, a lot of where you go and who you end up with is a big deal for how your career goes. If he's with Andy Reid, I think his whole career is completely different. I truly believe that, and I think you could say that for a myriad of QBs. If they are with the right person, it makes a huge difference.
Well, I talked about with who was it that I discussed it with? I can't remember. Either way, but Derek Carr, looking at his career, and Josh, I think it was yesterday with Matt Lane, and what he's done in his career, and this being year one with Josh McDaniels, since Derek Carr's rookie year. This is his lowest completion percentage, his lowest yards per attempt, his second lowest completion percentage over expected, and his second lowest yards total in throwing since his rookie year. And it's coming in year one with Josh McDaniels. You talked about oil and water, and it's just not working from that. But it's not this bad.
Well,
it hasn't been this bad for Derek Carr.
But I did hear something, and I don't have the facts in front of me, but if you go and look on what his second year is after a new offensive coordinator comes in, I think his numbers go up dramatically. And so that would give you cause to think, okay, well, what could have happened next year if the oil and the water could have mixed peacefully with him and Josh McDaniels? And again, I don't know that for a fact, but who I talk to, I do trust. So, just take it for what it's worth.
I just don't remember which years they had new offensive coordinators and other ones. Like
he's had several years though. During his career where there's been a change.
Do we know off the top of our head when Gruden got there?
No.
Gruden get there in 19?
I'm gonna get some Raiders coaching history together. We're gonna get to the bottom of this.
Oh, here we go.
Because if Gruden got there in 19, Derek Carr had 4,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. The next year he had 4,100 yards, 27 touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions. So he had a better year that second year. QBR rating higher the next one. More touchdowns, roughly the same interceptions. So I don't know if he got there in 19 or 18 or whatever it might be. Doesn't matter, But it's a mixed bag with him because Chiefs fans have seen him be pretty good. Chiefs fans have seen him really struggle, and I think he's right around 13, 14, 15 in the league?
I think absolutely. He's in the top half for sure. I think for what he does.
I think you can. This was a funny thing we used with Corey, because Corey was like, I think Derek Carr is this and that, and started going, and we cut everything and made it sound like Corey was a huge Derek Carr fan. But I do think Derek Carr in the right spot can be on a playoff team. I mean, he was in the playoffs last year.
Yep.
But I've heard people say, Jets, trade for Derek Carr. You know, you put him on the Jets, and what does that team look like if they don't have to go through the Mike White and the Joe Flacco?
If the Raiders and Jets traded quarterback situations this year, the Jets would be in the playoffs, and the Raiders would be like a 4-win team, maybe worse. Does that seem unreasonable? I think that's true.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. That's probably right.
Yep.
What they would be. Kendall Gammon is our guest. How do you prepare for a team that's going through a coaching change, that has all that turmoil, and you've got everything to play for, so probably focusing on yourself.
It's that right there.
You just focus only. Chiefs, we focus on us. We played them a few weeks ago. We know what they can do. We're comparing ourselves to us.
It is. You have a rallying cry because of the last game where you were up 27-0, but you didn't put the nails in the coffin, and you let it be a game too long. So you've got to take care of business as soon as possible. During my career, when we played different games, I remember Cower said this, Dick said this, Vermeil said this, which was basically when you have if it's a bad team and you get up on them, you've got to continue to go there. Don't leave them in the game and allow them to generate some confidence that they otherwise should not have. And this is a franchise in Denver that is just it's grease fire over grease fire in the dumpster fire. I mean, it's rough, and so. You get on them early, especially away from home, they could get the keys out to the bus and warm it up fairly quickly. So we will see. That being said, you can't take them for granted. As you said, they have to win out and hope that the Cincinnati does something. It's going to be hard for Chiefs fans to have to root for Cincinnati, but we do. It is what it is. I think that's kind of the game of the year coming up on Monday night.
It's so massive, and it has so many different implications for the postseason.
Yep.
Of if you're the 1, the 2, or the 3, just the difference in trying to get to the Super Bowl in all of those different spots in your seeding, when you've got what feels like 3 teams and then everybody else in the AFC, which not even feels like it is, pretty much 3 teams and everybody else in the AFC. And I think the game can go a couple of ways. I think the Chiefs can come out early and just bury them.
Right.
I think there can also be maybe you fire a coach. Sometimes there's a cleansing.
There's a bump, and
in
I've
the
been
locker
with New
room.
Orleans when I played, where I was when Mora left the team, and our next game, I think we played Dallas. We played somebody we had no business beating, and we did beat them.
Interesting.
And I think that was Jake Delhomme's first start. I'm not certain of that one, but he was down there with me. Of course, he went to Carolina for a while. But you're exactly right with that bump when you get that when you lose a coach. But there's so much going on there.
I know. It's because they're putting guys on IR. It's not like they're fully healthy and they fired their coach, and it's like, oh, that was the problem, and everybody hated him. Russell Wilson came out and defended him pretty strongly.
That should work fine then, because he's got complete control of the locker room.
That's exactly right.
That should be all right.
That's exactly right. Yeah, but sometimes there is that cleansing, though, right?
There is,
it's
absolutely.
Like everybody just sort of
and that's
takes
something
a
that you
deep
hang your
breath.
hat on too. As a Chiefs, back to your question, that's something you got to be looking at, and you talk about also. Said, listen, I mean, they've got nothing to lose. They just lost their coach. They're playing for their jobs, not only this year, but in the years going forward.
How much do you? They're so focused, one game at a time, 1 week at a time, and we've had jokes about that. But then Kelsey a couple of times has not even known who they were playing that weekend. A couple of years ago on Monday Night Football, or last year, whatever it was, with the Manning cast, and he thought they were playing somebody else coming up that weekend, and it was the wrong team. And he's like, I don't know who we're playing, because he was just talking about
they hadn't started the prep yet.
Yeah, so
that happens more than you would believe.
Brendan Daly forgot who they played last week in pressers yesterday.
Absolutely,
Spags does that all the time.
He does that every week, yeah.
And he joked, he's like, well, now I'm Spags here because forgetting who they played. But even though it may not be individual like this team, can you feel like the ramp up that the postseason is just a couple of weeks away? That is right there, and there's got to be an extra focus, because they've talked about playing better football. They've talked about playing as close to a perfect game. We got to get rid of the turnovers. Mm-hmm. Well, they did. Defense has to have their run fits better.
Right.
Well, I know that there were 100 yards for Kenneth Walker, but man, it felt like the run defense was pretty good for the most part. You got to be better in the secondary. They had a couple of interceptions, one called back because of Snead. That you look at 2 games left to play, like
You can feel it in the locker room. You can feel it that it's right around the corner, that there's an amp up, there's a ramp up sort of for everybody that is going on right now at Arrowhead?
You can. I remember myself, at least when I was with the Steelers the first 4 years, and every year we're in the playoffs. Last 2 years, AFC Championship game, and especially after the third year when we lost the AFC Championship game in the last play of the game. The next year you get into it and you're talking about it earlier and earlier and you're trying to get the things going. It's real. It is in there. And that was the same for the Chiefs a few years that we went to the playoffs while I was there. And I'm not in the locker room now, obviously, but I have no doubt that there's something very similar to that going on, as mentioned by some of the things you just said. And it is. It's real. You're getting ready. And it is amazing. It does amp up. The playoffs, the speed, everything does amp up from the regular season, in my opinion, and what I saw, and it makes sense because you're one of the only games or the only team playing at that time, and it takes on a special meaning. There's no doubt about it.
And that's where rookie wall or not, it's who was it that said that he doesn't care about a rookie wall?
Was it Dave Merritt or was it
Greg Lewis?
Or was it Greg Lewis? I was one of those two. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was. Well.
When did Justin Reid something?
Yeah, he said
there are no rookies on the team anymore.
Right,
they're beyond rookie time.
But these guys, a lot of guys on this team have played in a postseason game. That they know what it's like. Justin Reid even playing in a postseason game. A lot of Chiefs players have been there just last year.
That's a big deal.
Where rookie wall or not, and are you going to bust through it? Okay, it's faster than the playoffs, but you don't know it until you experience it.
Agreed.
That you get into a game against a team that can beat you. All of a sudden, you're talking about this is the first game that these rookies in the secondary have played and things like that. That's a little concern, but I do think, the way they played defensively, I think it's encouraging from what we've seen, from where it was after the Bengals game and some of the issues and frustrations that were going on. I think they're in a better spot now with 2 weeks to play, but they also had Russell Wilson go off on them last time.
Right.
That's fresh in their memory.
Yeah.
And I'm really fascinated and interested to see what this defense looks like this weekend against Russell Wilson.
I think that's a good point. I think right there is the pass rush. Get to him with 4. Don't let him get outside, although I don't think Russell moves like he used to, and I don't think he's ever going to move like he used to anymore. But to me, it's all about the pass rush. Honestly, the playoffs to me are all about the defense and specifically the pass rush. Can you get there with 4?
Yeah.
Can you get there with the edges? Can you press the middle of the pocket? Can you make the QB uncomfortable? Can Chris Jones do what he does best, which is pressure and make sacks? Can Karlaftis continue to play water polo very well and time balls? If he can do that, then you've got some good things going on.
Did you connect to that? The water polo and him batting down passes all the time?
Once I heard it explained, I was like, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Beforehand,
so much sense.
No, I hadn't thought about it.
So mad.
I know it's hard to believe.
So mad. None of us did. Like, we're an entire room of just floating through analysis of George Karlaftis, and then Matt Lane comes in and blows our minds. Like, well, he played water polo, so that certainly helps with batting down passes to the line of scrimmage. You dirty dog.
Yep.
You are so smart. I cannot believe it.
It's pretty nice.
Cannot believe it. Kendall Gammon is our guest, presented by Freeman Health System. Centered around you, Freeman Health System, your local hospital, joining your circle of trust, and Crown Automotive in Lawrence. Your Lawrence new and certified pre-owned Toyota and Volkswagen dealership near Kansas City, Olathe, Topeka. Experience the Crown difference at crownautomotive.com. What do you think happens? You mentioned that you think it's going to be one where the Chiefs get up early and take care of the Broncos. That's what you're expecting? Maybe a wider margin?
I do. I think the Broncos, I don't see the offense getting over 14. I think I said something like 10 or so. And the Chiefs, I think 24, 27, somewhere in there points-wise. And I say that only because I feel like they're going to have a chance to get up. And I'm just praying that Henny can get in the fourth quarter and you can rest some players potentially. You can't think that way going in, but I hope that happens. And then when that comes down to it, then I think you start calling plays to counteract your tendencies, which you've already self-scouted. And teams will be like, okay, then they've got to start questioning, okay, did they do that because they were up or whatever, or were they really thinking that? And that creates more indecision. And now that's more the chess match that's going on with all the analytics and everything under the weather. Those guys that are only getting 4 hours of sleep a day because they're paying their dues and they're doing all that different stuff, which is crazy what they do. So that's the other things that go on, which I think are fascinating.
Do you have a score in mind?
I do. I think I said 27-10.
27-10.
Yeah.
And then last one for you, the Bengals and Bills play on Monday night. We were talking about it, whether or not players get together. Do they do that in a big game? Like, do players meet up and say, hey, let's go watch the Bills and Bengals game at your house or whatever, and knowing that it means so much for the Chiefs and whether or not they're going to get a week off or not?
I think position groups do at times. I mean, not great big groups, but I do.
It's not a team party.
Yeah, everybody.
Not watching it in the film room.
Obviously, there's a great amount of interest in that game, and so yeah, it is, and you'll get groups that probably would have done it anyhow, but this one, the magnitude, what it means to everything is so interesting, and it's so awesome about the NFL in general. When you look at it, Cincinnati, Buffalo, Kansas City, not huge market teams, yet they're the tops in the AFC, and that's where the NFL, one of the many things that the NFL has gotten right, where so there's so much competitive balance, and that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, and you're not worried about small market, big market,
exactly
those things, and what they've created with the 17th game and also 7th team that makes the playoffs. I talked about this when we started the show, the different playoff implications this weekend, that 2 weeks to go, 9 teams have clinched a postseason spot. So that means there's 5 spots open. Only 9 teams have been eliminated. That means there's 14 teams in the last 2 weeks competing for 5 playoff spots.
And that's what the NFL sells. They sell the past, they sell the future, and they sell the present. And because it doesn't matter what you were last year, you've got a chance. And to your point right there, that many teams that are still in it. And the fact that they pushed the division games towards the end, I think that was a great move as well.
That's a good point.
I think, if I remember right, you suggested that and they took your lead, right?
Yeah, I've been saying it for years. Why don't they do that?
Yes.
The other thing I saw that there are so many games this weekend that have postseason implications, but this is the latest into the season where there's only one game with both teams that are above 500, and that's Monday night. It's the only game matching 2 teams that are above 500, and it's the latest in the season that's ever happened.
Interesting.
So, and that's division games too. Like, you're going up against all these division games, and yet still you're talking about teams that are sub 500 against a really good team, and there's a lot of teams jumbled in the middle there. So it's an amazing, amazing weekend. Real quick, do you think Cincinnati or Buffalo wins?
I think Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati is as dangerous a team as there is right now, and I think they've got a chance. I think it's a 1-point game, so it's basically a pick 'em. It's at Cincinnati, I believe. Cincinnati, correct? Yep. Yeah, that's a big deal as well. That being said, I mean, Buffalo's tough too. So right there, just jumped on the fence and went neither way. I guess I did say Cincinnati.
You said Cincy first.
Yeah,
we can cut you off in the audio.
Yes, exactly.
Podcast listeners are going to hear you say Cincinnati, and then the segment will be over.
Like, why did he stop? It felt like he was in the middle of a sentence. It was odd. Kendall, you're the man. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me on, as always.
Absolutely. Congratulations again.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And happy
Next
New Year
week, I'm going to get a parking space for you.
Good enough. That works well.
There you go. Kendall Gammon. He is presented by Freeman Health System, centered around you, and Freeman Health System, your local hospital, joining your circle of trust, and Crown Automotive in Lawrence, your Lawrence new and certified pre-owned Toyota and Volkswagen dealership near Kansas City, Olathe, and Topeka. Experience the Crown difference at crownautomotive.com. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Mick Shaffer hanging out with us next.
Want to see more of The Zone? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
So sweaty, mom's spaghetti or whatever the line is.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, thank you to Kendall Gammon. We continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll hear from Andy Reid coming up around 1 o'clock or so. Mick Shaffer, KSHB 41 Sports Director with us.
Yes, I am. You know, we were just talking about the person in the hog uniform that covered up the sight lines at maybe one of the worst bowl venues out there, the Liberty Bowl in Memphis. There's like literally no Wi-Fi. Like we had the crew from Topeka, they were sharing video with us. Eventually, they're like, we can't send you video. There was no Wi-Fi.
Or water.
Right. Or water in this case.
Or tripods.
So whenever that touchdown happened, you didn't see it. That was the only time Mason Fairchild, I think, was covered the entire game.
So
the tight end.
That's a great line.
The only time he was covered, including the last play of the game, that Jason Bean missed him in the end zone.
Dude, you know how sometimes they say, like, well, the HD, the cameras are so. I mean, you feel like you're there. That's one of the first times I've ever sat in my living room and felt like I was at a game because. Raise your hand if every once in a while you started leaning right or left.
Exactly.
When the person, it's just so instinctual. You've been to a game that the person jumps up in front of you and then you go right or left to look around them. I was doing that the whole freaking game, looking right, like, oh yeah, that's right. There's nothing I can do. I'm not going to be able to look around this person's head.
Maybe in like 10 or 15 years with the advancement of television, we can get like a 360 view to where you can like it's a cylinder. Basically, the TV's going to be a cylinder.
Just scroll to the right a little bit, just pan to the right, and I can see Fairchild catching the football. Like, I didn't know, like, was there somebody there? And all of a sudden, like, oh, no, he was all by himself because the person that was supposed to be guarding him then came up to stop Jalen Daniels, but I couldn't see it because there was a hog in the way.
Well, thankfully, he caught it, and the hog then turned and went into, like, surrender cobra. Had he not, the hog would have been jumping up and down for a while. We would have had to wait for that cutaway shot in the end zone.
It was so bad. I mean, just like any time it was at the lower part of the field.
That whole game was an experience.
It really was. It really was. The officiating, the back and forth, the crowd.
I was cheering for KU, but Arkansas got jobbed twice.
You talking about the fumble?
He was down. He was clearly down.
And targeting.
And the targeting, yes. Which, I mean, okay, I get, and there was he led with his head, which, by the way, try not leading with your head when you're making a tackle.
It's at the goal line on a run.
But then it's like, okay, if that is targeting, let's go back and look. There's going to be a lion's share of plays out there that you're going to call targeting as well. On a lot of these runs.
A 3rd and 1, a 4th and short run. I mean, that happens all the time at the goal line.
And so, did I see they rescinded that? The SEC... They rescinded the targeting. I thought I saw that article. But one of the stupidest things in college football.
Because Arkansas won. If Arkansas had lost, they would have said, no, it's the right call.
Right.
It was the right call.
One of the stupidest things in college football, if he comes back for whatever it would be his 4th, 5th, 7th, 8th year of eligibility, whatever in college football now, he has to now sit out the first half of the first game next year.
It would take me too long to go in and look right now. But I got a tweet that when that happened said, so does he have to sit out the first half of what team he plays on next year after transferring?
Right, absolutely.
That's exactly right. I don't know, but apparently you do.
Yes.
Like apparently it does carry over.
And you can safely tweet that. Even if he is a senior, there's going to be ways for him to come back and play. But maybe if he gets drafted by the Jets, does he have to sit for the first half
of
their
the preseason game, or is it game
Bills?
1?
Yeah.
Like which?
It's a great question.
Have to sit
Did
out?
you guys see this? And I think it was SportsCenter that sent it out. Otherwise, I was not going to believe it. I think it was a legit ESPN account that there's a guy at Oregon who's been granted a 9th year of eligibility.
What?
That extends into 23-24.
How could you?
He started playing football in 2016 at the college level. He has had 3 season-ending injuries. He's at the COVID year. Some other stuff.
Grad transfer.
Well, the redshirt year, stuff like that. It's an Oregon player, I believe.
Yes, Oregon's Cam McCormick.
9 years of eligibility.
His first year was 2016?
After redshirting as a freshman in 2016, McCormick played in 2017, then suffered 4 straight season-ending injuries from 18 to 21. He was also one of 3 to be hospitalized with rhabdomyolysis following overly intense workouts in January of 2017. What the bleep? This year, he was finally able to get through a full season relatively healthy and made it to a bowl game. So, he already has his bachelor's and his master's from Oregon. So he would need to find a new way to receive academic credit in order to play again.
So he got to campus. These are the top defensive players, recruits
that year.
Yes,
it would have been the
2016
class. Yep.
Dexter Lawrence, Ed Oliver, Nick Bosa.
Nick Bosa.
McCole Hardman was going to Georgia as an athlete, cornerback/athlete, the number 12 overall player in the class. McCole Hardman was a freshman on campus at Georgia when this player was a freshman, and he's still playing at Oregon.
That's the whole deal. There are 27-year-olds that play college football all the time. Just take basically every Australian punter.
Yeah.
Right? But
now looking through
none of them started playing football as an 18-year-old like this guy did.
Jeffrey Simmons, Miles Sanders.
Jeffrey Simmons. It feels like he's a aged veteran in the league by now.
Unbelievable going through and looking at A.J. Brown in that recruiting class. This is amazing. I love it. Well, Sauce Gardner somehow. Is that the same? No, it can't be Sauce.
And so I think he's like 7 years through, and he's already been granted 8 and 9. Now, whether he takes advantage of it or not.
Brian Burns. I like going back and looking at the
Brian Burns discourse has been he's going to get that second contract this offseason. Same recruiting class.
Wait for it. Going to get it. So there you go.
So 9 years he could go to school the equivalent of like 2 1/4 athletes. Basically 4.
2 1/4. It's the old rule that we say in college athletics: 9 to play 4.
9 to play 4.
That's what everybody gets 9 to play.
Actually, it's gonna be 9 to play 7 for him.
Well, once you make it professional and they sign contracts, he might have a 7-year deal. Like, you don't know. You don't know if he's going to get a 7-year deal or not. You get 9 to play 7.
These guys that only played 9 games their COVID year deserve an entire extra year on top of that.
That is exactly right. I did not see that, where that guy is getting a 9th year of eligibility. I didn't know he got an 8th. All right, so I missed out on the 8th year of eligibility too. What was your takeaway from the KU season overall, even with the loss to?
Thank God for Oklahoma State is my takeaway. If I'm a KU fan,
because they got to a bowl game because of Oklahoma State.
They wouldn't had it. O State had the pulse, any pulse whatsoever.
Any pulse.
Oklahoma State was 5-0, ranked in the top 10 with a 2-touchdown lead
that is
in the fourth quarter on TCU. Okay,
getting ready to play TCU. I remember the conversation with Braden Gall that week. We talked about Oklahoma State's the best team in the Big 12.
Yeah, it was funny. Mike Gundy was like finally getting all this love for like what he's done as a program. We're overlooking Mike Gundy as a perennial top 15, top 10 team every year. You take a look at the last 15 years, they're top 10 of wins, yada yada. They're undefeated again, and then it just went to his head. It went through his mullet into his head, or actually it was just injuries, and apparently they didn't recruit backups and horrible quarterback play.
This is a great point. Adam Dravetta said that guy's rookie year or freshman year was the first year of the Chiefs division title run.
It's unbelievable.
Also, how about this?
So he needs to stay in college.
Yes.
No. Here's one for you. That guy got on campus
when Mahomes was still playing college.
That guy got on campus with the reigning World Series champion Kansas City Royals. He got to campus in August?
Yeah.
And the reigning World Series champions were the Kansas City Royals. It's amazing.
Well, how about this?
Let's do more crazy things.
When the Royals won the World Series,
yeah,
the Broncos and Chiefs had a huge streak going, but it was the other way.
It was the other way.
The Broncos killed the Chiefs every game.
Yeah, and they haven't done that since. So it was the Royals winning the World Series, getting things rolling in the right direction.
How about one more?
Yep.
Before Wednesday, the last KU football game was during the George W. Bush administration. Wow. Obama had been elected, but he hadn't been inaugurated.
Bowl game?
Bowl game.
Okay, you said football game.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I was like, there's got to be a catch
Bowl
here
game.
somewhere.
Bowl game.
Last bowl game was W?
Yes. like Obama would be inaugurated like a month later.
Wow. But they hadn't lost a bowl game in a long time.
It's true. I didn't know that had been 19 years.
19 years since their last bowl loss.
And I believe that would have been Phillip Rivers beating them in the Tangerine Bowl.
NC State.
Good Lord.
Yeah, the Tangerine
That's the last
Bowl.
time. What a run!
And
what
that
an
amazing run.
How many kids has he had since then?
all of them.
All of them.
He said more kids than they've had
All them
bowl
kids.
seasons.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he has a
kids
kid
than-
every year.
Yeah.
You know. Oh my God. Well, he probably had 2 kids then.
You think in
At
college?
that time, yeah, wasn't he married like as a
Might have been.
sophomore in college
Might
or
have been.
something? I might have got that wrong. Maybe
Speaking
it
of
was somebody
NC
else.
State, they're on right now.
That's right. They are down by 1 point to Maryland, the old ACC rivalry. Maryland and NC State. And there's a Tagovailoa playing this weekend.
There is.
Not Tua, but whatever Tua's brother's name is for Maryland.
Rivers got married in 2001. Do with that what you will. I don't know
I
where that
bet
all
he was
lines
pumping
up.
out kids by 2004.
Yeah. They're up to
By 2001.
7 daughters
He got married in 2001, yeah, and he started pumping out kids in 2001.
and 2 sons. My God. They have a foot. He and his wife can hop in, and all of a sudden they can play 11 on 11 against some other enormous family.
Yeah. They come back and win. Was it house money, or come back and go to overtime? Is it house money once
think
they
so.
got within scoring range? Once they got within range of
every KU fan I know, if you would have gone up to them before the season and said, "You're going to lose to an SEC team in triple overtime in a bowl game," want it? Yes, please, yes, sign me up. Right?
As long as it's not
every
Missouri.
KU fan I knew, everyone, and that was a great comeback. That was a dramatic comeback. The
32-0 run.
The college football
In football,
overtime,
not in basketball.
college football overtime rules are stupid now. I hate how they do the penalty kicks or whatever at the end. Otherwise, KU might have won. Now, the defense, I mean, that was like knife through butter, those last few possessions for Arkansas. It wasn't much for them to score, but KU was matching them. And and look, I'm all over the place on the last play in that. I mean, Jalen Daniels was magic, right? And that would have been their 5th 2-point conversion play, right? Because they had the one that was called back on the targeting. So they showed that. They had the one early when they tried to chase the points in the second quarter.
Yeah.
And so they'd shown a lot. Now, do you have to have a specific 2-point conversion play to get it? No, you could probably just roll him out. I thought the play worked, right? I mean, he had a lot of time and a lot of room to run, and there was an open guy, and he probably could have run it in.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't executed well. But I'm still kind of mostly in the camp of just get it to Jalen Daniels.
That's
even
where
though look, he had failed twice on 2-point conversions.
Yeah.
He's 2 for 4, so it's not a guarantee. The other side of that is that Jason Bean's cold, right? He hadn't thrown a pass in that game.
He threw one
Did
earlier
he throw
in the
one?
game.
Okay. But that's a tough ask of him to come in 4.5 hours after the game started.
Good point. It's a good point.
To execute that thing.
I'm with you. Like I'm torn to a degree. Like my first reaction
When it happened, I wasn't like, "Oh my God, what are they doing?" It was like, "Okay, I get it. They've run 150 plays. You got to pull something out."
And I tweeted it out too. My first reaction was, "Man, how do you take the ball out of Jalen Daniels' hands there?" And
that was a lot of people's reaction,
right? And that was my first reaction. And I get it. There was there's a part of a results, reaction of you see what the play is, and then you're going to react to it one way or another. Because again, the play worked. The player was open. He might have even beat the guy to the pylon.
He's the fastest guy on the field there.
He throws it out of bounds. Like I don't know if he had a brain fart. Did he think that it was like 3rd down and I'm not gonna force anything, so let me just throw it away? I have no idea. The ball just sails on him, whatever it might be. I get all of that stuff, but man, if that's the 6th 2-point conversion on my chart, I might go to 7 as long as 7 means Jalen Daniels has the ball.
Or do you have that many 2-point conversions?
True.
Or like I said, just run a regular play, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just some sort of goal line play. It did seem, I mean, there's running between the tackles, running it all in that situation for KU was not going to happen. That's not an option. So you're pigeonholed a little bit there. And I hate how that ended for Jason Bean because I think he is a forgotten hero this season for KU. He didn't win a ton of games, but he came in. I thought he outside in a year where, especially in the Big 12, where backup quarterbacks were the thing. That was the theme. They were a necessity. I thought he was the best one in the Big 12 outside of Will Howard.
Yep.
And I thought he did a great job. And I was even questioning whether Jalen Daniels should be playing up until Wednesday night, right?
Well,
I was like, are they starting the right guy? Are they starting the right guy?
Well, even in that game, it went from bench Jalen Daniels, why isn't Jason Bean in the game, to how did you possibly let Jason Bean touch the ball? Jason Bean just lost the game, which, by the way, he lost an opportunity to go into another overtime. Because if he completes the pass, it just ties the game. So they weren't down by one, and it was a win or lose thing or anything like that.
I don't see Arkansas missing out on too many of those two-point conversions.
I think Arkansas would have just kept scoring until they stopped them. Eventually, just kept getting 2-point conversions. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and continue rolling. We'll hear from Andy Reid coming up at 1 o'clock. More Zone next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Brisco, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Cynthia, are you okay with Beards playing the returner with the amazing English? I was curious about that. As Cynthia Freeland is our guest, NFL Network's analytics expert. Okay, good.
I love it. I own it. I own what I say. We're good.
Good, because we make fun of ourselves all the time, and we play things back all the time of when we mess up, as I just said, when we mess up talking.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll hear from Andy Reid and Juju Smith-Schuster coming up at 1 o'clock. A Fast Friday with Andy, so we'll hear about injuries. I'm assuming he'll be asked about Mecole Hardman, who is not at practice again today. Wasn't at practice yesterday. Was expected, at least it sounded like he was going to play this weekend. But his fiance, wife, is having a child, so it might be going on. Like, there's really not a lot of information coming out about Mecole Hardman not being there. And since he's still on the IR, he's not listed on the injury report, so it can't say DNP personal, or whatever it might be. So we'll probably find out from Andy Reid here in a little bit if Mecole Hardman's going to play on Sunday. It certainly sounded like he was pacing for that. And if not, then you would expect him to play next week.
He was out at practice some last week.
Yeah.
I don't know how much. We had him in the warm-ups when we were out there. So, yeah, and they can activate somebody all the way up till the game time.
And, as long as it's not an injury where he's not practicing because of an injury, then I think he's probably going to be out there. So we'll see. We'll hear from Andy Reid, and we'll hear from Juju Smith-Schuster, and maybe this will be the game that the Chiefs will have their full allotment of receivers healthy. That includes Tony and Mecole Hardman and Juju out there, and MVS and Justin Watson, and et cetera, et cetera. We'll see what happens with that. We'll hear from Andy Reid and Juju Smith-Schuster. We got the cuts to come as well. What's on tap, some other things to get into. K-State, Alabama tomorrow, 11 o'clock, a big one for the Wildcats. And an Alabama team that two of the top prospects in the NFL draft are playing tomorrow, which is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome to see somebody saying, you know what, I'm going to opt in. Yeah. And everybody's opting out. So good on that. That's what you get when you get an Anderson. The college.
As evidence of that was we just played them, and they took us right to the wire. So, anyways, with that, time's yours.
With the setback with McCole, and the window is starting to get smaller and smaller here, how concerned are you that he will not be available once that 21-day window elapses?
Yeah, so I believe that's Wednesday. I'm not worried about it. I think as long as he's progressing and trying to work to get better here, we'll be okay. If he can't, then he can't. Then we go move on and keep going with the guys we've got.
During the span that Kadarius has been back, how have you seen him progress as he goes along from back in his?
Yeah, I think he just getting more familiar with how we do things, and you can see it in his play. He's more familiar with the offense. So he's doing a nice job.
Are you able to elaborate at all on the setback from McCole?
No, he just had some pain. Some pain, and it was all like a tweak, and up in the groin area. So we just backed him off. I mean, I don't want to take steps back, and I don't want to do that. So.
Coach, with it being, y'all playing on New Year's Day on Sunday, have you looked back on the year, just outside of football, everything? Have you looked back and reflected on the year and what you thought about?
I haven't. I haven't had time to do all that. I guess when the season's over, I will, but I haven't so far.
All right.
Good. Thanks.
All right, so McCole Hardman suffered a setback on Wednesday with his groin. Is not going to play on Sunday. Andy Reid said he's not worried about the 21-day window for McCole Hardman expiring on Wednesday, which would mean you activate him or he's done for the year. So it's crunch time for McCole Hardman if he is going to play this year again for the Chiefs. So having a setback, that's too bad.
That's wild. Bad. Week 9 was the last time. He had a good game. He had a touchdown that game against the Titans.
When it's Titans, yeah, when he went out. Yeah, because that was the last game he played was the first game Kadarius Toney played. Mm-hmm. They were two ships passing in the night.
We've never seen him in the same room.
Only they stopped and they're like, "Hey, how are you?" for like 2 plays. What did Kadarius Toney play? Like 3 plays?
They posed like the Spider-Man meme.
That's right. And then they just went their separate ways, and they are still going their separate ways.
Well, they were both in the same way hurt for a while together. So that was nice.
Yeah. So then they were together. They were finally together on the same team.
Same room, the same medical room, same doctor's office.
Is that the first time the Chiefs have used the word groin or mentioned groin at all for Hardman? It's always been abdomen on the injury reports.
No, the Chiefs have said groin a lot in their organizational history.
They've said little groin before.
Yeah.
He's got a little
so
groin.
there have been plenty of players that have had groin injuries, Josh. I'm not sure. This isn't the first one ever.
I think it's the first time anyone in a red hat has ever used the word groin.
Well, that's what I thought he was asking there for a
what I
second.
thought, too.
The first time I ever said groin?
Have they ever said groin before? They said bollocks, but I don't know if they've said groin.
They said labrum?
I'm not sure. They've said taint, but have they said groin? I'm not sure. They said that really taints the playoffs if you go and play like that. You know? But have they said groin, though? Josh, have they said groin, or were you asking?
I heard Andy Reid say groin, and I think I've heard it before. I've heard the Romeo clip.
Have they ever said myopic? Which is it's a good word, but I feel like I don't hear a whole lot of football guys saying myopic. Have they ever said myopic?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Have they ever said monosyllabic? I don't know.
Probably not that either.
I've said scrotum, but I don't know about any of the other words that we're wondering if they've said or not. Not sure. We'll hear from Juju Smith-Schuster, we were told. Soon-ish. That was a Fast Friday. We are back to Fast Friday.
Am I getting close? Did the last couple weeks change anything with MVS perhaps catching up to Juju in the yardage on the ZOUs?
No.
Okay.
Which we will do after Andy Reid. We will update those. I shouldn't say after Andy Reid. I'll just say
Does
in the
Corey
next segment.
Corey know that he has to buy? That he's going to lose?
Yeah, Corey currently has 0 points.
He didn't put any answers in.
Corey also sitting right here next to us.
What? Whoa! What? When did you get here?
He's standing right behind me.
Weirdo.
He's standing
I've
right
always hated
behind
Corey.
you.
Hated him the whole time. I hate that guy. He's behind me, isn't he?
What's up? What's happening?
No, that really is Corey.
That is me.
Is there some tension here between you and Josh since he took your job?
Yeah.
This is a lot like Dustin Colquitt and Tommy Townsend.
I handed it off to him.
And you didn't like Dustin Colquitt, remember
Are
that?
you? Did Jason bring you back in? Did he bring you back in to teach me some things? Am I turning the laces the wrong direction, Jason?
There's a problem with your holding.
I get it.
All right.
I get it.
It broke my heart, the Colquitt Townsend stuff that happened.
I bet so.
It made me sad.
Do you understand how many people on the text line were wondering if we could get Corey on to talk
I
about
got
how bad
I got
of
a lot
holder?
of buzz on Twitter from it. As well. I'm like,
elite holder.
let it go, guys.
So,
let it go.
Damn you, Dustin Colquitt.
how much do you still keep up with Kansas City sports? Say if of what you did before when you were here, what percentage of your knowledge do you still maintain?
I mean, I probably watch more now than when I did the show.
Really?
So
Good to know.
Shocker.
And it
shows.
shows. The good news is, even without Sunday Ticket, I've been able to get all but one Chiefs game up in Salt Lake City because the Chiefs are so good. No, this past I was in Oklahoma City. Sorry, this past weekend for holidays, so I watched it there. But the only game that I couldn't get, for some reason, I don't know why, but my tablet still has my Hulu account linked to Kansas City stations. So my KCTV5 or my CBS affiliate on my tablet is still KCTV5. So I can stream it and then just AirPlay it to my TV.
Nice.
So I got to watch it that way.
Any other local TV stations Mick doesn't work for? You want to plug real quick?
Well, I'm not saying that they're any good. I'm just saying that's the station that the Chiefs play their games on. I mean,
they play some on Fox.
Well, they have. I mean,
and
they've
had some on ABC and ESPN.
I've been on NBC a number of times.
Have they been on 41 yet?
But see, KCTV5 has
biggest
Neil
games are on
Jones.
40. Yes.
And KSHB 41 has Mick Shaffer, so there's really no need
to push.
41 has Aaron and Haley. I mean, you gotta at least acknowledge that they've got a couple of nice pieces on that roster. Clearly have a quarterbacking problem. They're the kind of the Raiders of local television.
I try to focus on the bosses.
I'm the Josh McDaniels.
Not the underlings.
Yeah, I think you're the Josh McDaniels of 41.
Directors.
If eventually Aaron takes a leave of absence for the last 2 weeks of a season, I'm gonna start asking some questions.
They all take leaves of absence there.
How about that, Josh McDaniels? Imagine siding with Josh McDaniels over anybody.
Right?
Imagine picking that guy's side over anybody.
I know.
And you love Derek Carr.
I think Derek Carr is an underrated quarterback.
I agree.
And I think he'll go somewhere next year and be better when he gets out of that godforsaken organization.
I remember you saying he was great.
I remember the clips.
You remember it crystal clear.
Yes, absolutely.
No,
do you get like significant other vibes, Josh? When Corey comes in, you're like, oh, hey, you guys used to date. That's fun. We're all at the same Christmas party together. Cool. Try not to go in the back room with him.
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, I think at this point, there's no animosity between Corey and I at all. I was curious if you guys wanted to talk some Oklahoma State football, if that's something you wanted to talk about. But no, things are great with us. I mean, I'm happy to have him here.
I kind of don't ever want to talk about Oklahoma State football.
Me now,
but at least
too.
Spencer Sanders is gone. That was my Christmas present.
He actually was just granted an extra year of eligibility.
But it's going to be somewhere else.
But he entered the portal. So
you just don't go back.
And he just
go
announced
towards the
he's
light.
going back to Oklahoma State.
If that's true, I will cry.
He's portaling back to Oklahoma State.
Josh, you've never brought in QT.
No,
This is a big QT run.
I can't say I have.
You guys made me get pretzels too.
But hey, look who didn't.
I know.
Me, Beards. Now we'll take
I
our
almost
Cokes.
ordered food.
Lebo's
but I'm
on
like,
you
I'm not
guys.
gonna make him do that,
Lebo's
but-
on you guys for the pretzel. He goes, that was a lot of work. They made you put in a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
You had to order those at the touchscreen too,
kiosk,
right?
Yeah.
It was. I did the wink smiley face because of the last time I ordered the soft pretzel. Mick was like, "Hey, I'm going to stop at QT. Do you guys need anything from there?" And I was like, "Well, we didn't have. We were at like a rally house." I'm like, "Well, we didn't have lunch here." And I was like, "Yeah, a soft pretzel." And then you guys behind the scenes are like making fun, like this bleeping guy asked for food. I was talking about like a drink.
It's a drink run.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know. Like it was, early on in the QT runs. Yeah. And so that's when I'm like, you know what, Corey, how about a soft pretzel? Since that's fun.
Can I get a big Q and about 3 gallons of gas, a pretzel?
Put it in a bag.
Could you get me a $50 gift card?
That's what I should ask for.
A gift card. Can I get a $50 gas card?
I don't need a drink though. I'm not thirsty.
No, just
you should ask for some Casey's pizza. It's QT drink run.
Can I get some Joe's? I'm gonna stop by QT. Anything? Yeah, I need you to go by Joe's after you leave QT.
I did think about saying that as a joke. I did. After you guys were with the pretzels, I thought about it.
Can you get me a rocket pig?
Yeah.
Do we get Joe's for the Chiefs? ZOUs?
Are you looking at me because
I'm
I'm
good
going to
with
lose?
that.
Is that why you're
No,
looking
I'm
at
just
me?
wondering
or-
just in general.
I support it. As
I mean,
someone who I don't think is buying.
Before knowing
Are
the
there-
scores, should we just like decide where we're going to go to eat before looking at the?
Is there like some trade here that we can use towards it?
There's always
Then
some
yes.
trade. Yeah.
Always trade.
Go see Ted.
I like how it used to be to where, if you lost the ZOUs, you had to buy lunch. Now, if you lose the ZOUs, you just have to be the person to go and ask for a gift card.
I think I'm the only one that ever actually purchased it with my own money.
I purchased it with my own money. Okay. Like Shake Shack. It was like $70.
Yeah, you guys sent me to Shake Shack that first time, and it was $75.
Yeah. And then I went to Shake Shack. It was like $70. And now it's like, you know what? Let's get Johnny's. Let's get Joe. Let's bring some Joes. Let's bring some Johnny's in. Let's do that. Oddly enough, some of the things that we've got gift cards to. Anybody want some Jazz? Let's do that. Let's go. No word on Juju yet.
Still waiting is the report.
Well, I mean, Andy Reid was a little early today.
He got 12:59. What's his issue?
Juju's getting a little lift-ins, my guess. He's in some meetings. He'll be right out any minute.
Well, they saw those Seahawks and how cut up they are.
Yeah,
you get there.
Yep.
I mean, they didn't score any points, but I mean, they looked really good.
Well, that's the problem
beforehand.
If they played without shirts on, they would have scored. Mm-hmm. They would have scored a lot of points and everything. So. It's ridiculous.
That's a sneaky great quote line for 2022. Was it Josh Williams, right? Who told Seren, it was like, I'm glad they work out, right? Mm-hmm. Whenever he asked him about, do you see the picture of DK Metcalf? Oh, good for him for working out.
Good for him. Glad he works out. Travis Kelce, that the nipples are nature's thermostat.
It's pretty good.
Jason Kelce said the nipples will tell you if you're cold or not. No matter what, blankets or not, if you're cold, look at the nipples. They'll tell you. And Travis Kelce goes, nature's thermostat, the nipples. Like, you know what? And it's true because they were talking about that. Travis was like, I'm never going to go out there like that, freeze my nipples off.
It's just stupid.
Like, yes,
you just look like dumbasses. Like that's what I was thinking. Like what?
It's
the cold doesn't bother me except for my head, hands, and face.
Yeah. What is it? They have fake hustle. That's like fake bravado,
like
right?
Fake juice. Yeah.
And to me, it's the same for the people in the stands that do it. That get all liquored up and like wear no shirt to a Packers game. Like, come on.
Well, it's all look at me, look at me. It's all about them.
It is.
Well, if they have no shirt and they also don't have the balaclava and the hat and the gloves and the fanny pack hand warmers as well, I think that's a little different if you're in the stands doing that as opposed to like DK Metcalf's like, yeah, I got my stocking cap on, I got my face covered, I got my hand warmers, I got my booties on, because.
But look at these abs.
Yeah, well,
that's the thing. But if I had DK Metcalf's abs, I'd be shirtless on the show all the time.
Yeah,
I would be shirtless a lot.
Yeah,
but not out in the cold like that. Like I would
fair.
But I would be very J.R. Smith about it.
Yeah,
you would hardly ever see me with clothes on.
I have his abs.
A shirt or just clothes?
Whatever,
in general?
Man.
I have his abs.
Yeah.
Yet I never take my shirt off in here.
Wow, that's really
brave. Believe you?
Prove me wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
prove me wrong.
Can't.
Just have to believe. Remember when the J.R. Smith shirts?
Yes.
That they were selling
So
that
great.
looked like you were
Yes.
J.R. Smith without a shirt on.
Look really good on a white guy.
I really wanted
with his brown skin that ends and then your white arms come out from underneath.
I wanted to buy one just to say I had it, and I did not, and I wish I did buy the JR because then I would have just been walking around, just look, DK.
I'd wear that shirt out before a football game.
We're the golf course where he's playing, right? He's
that's
the
right.
golfer.
Where is he at?
It's Carolina somewhere. Is that
North Carolina A&T.
Yeah, North Carolina A&T.
And I think he was an academic All-American.
Yeah,
I believe in his first year.
Mm-hmm.
Another great quote is Mahomes.
Academic Athlete of the Year, 4.0 GPA.
Yep, good for him.
Mahomes calls himself the J.R. Smith of putting, in that he can just get on a roll, just sink about 6 putts in a row, and then miss like the next 20.
Putt one off the green.
Yeah.
But does Mahomes know what the score is? Does he know what the score is? I didn't know if maybe that's what he was talking about, the J.R. Smith.
No, I think.
I don't even know how many shots I've got here, but I'm just going to.
streaky shooter, I think.
Just going to knock it in. Is it my turn? Is it your turn?
It's always JR's turn.
Scramble.
That's right.
Let's just go ahead and do it.
You know what? I bet LeBron probably told him the wrong score.
JR probably plays ready golf.
Yeah, he bet he
does. I'm guessing he doesn't wait.
No.
He's just driving on the cart, just swinging as he's driving by. We played that entire round in 45 minutes. Why did you guys take 4 hours? It's crazy.
I do want that shirt.
Yeah, I've got the J.R. Smith tattoo shirt up, and I'm just kind of assessing the tats now. I'm not sure. I'll have to find it again to see if it's available for buying. It's just he has made some really interesting tattoo choices.
Do you have to update that shirt? If he's updated over the past few years,
he's running out of room, but there's a chance. There's a chance you might have to get another version. Yeah,
there's always going to be an update. All right, let's go ahead and update the ZOUs then.
Why don't we?
Until Juju.
You miss this stuff, don't you?
I do.
So
I can tell you this: if there was a Valdez-Scantling prop, I would be on the right side of it, which it sounds like you are not.
No.
Let's
no,
see.
I had him as the leading receiver on the Chiefs.
I had no faith in him being much of a contributor.
Well, he's been like
He's
the
second wide
best
receiver, yeah.
contributor
for wide
better
receivers.
than McCole Hardman, who hasn't been out there.
Yep, McKinnon's been better than McCole. All right, so Patrick Mahomes.
I was on the Justin Watson bandwagon until last week too. Until last week.
That's tough.
This was
it's 50 degrees this week. You can start catching.
Good
footballs again.
Somebody do something to his groin.
Did it bother him in Houston? Was it too cold in Houston when he dropped the?
Was he dropping those two?
The 60-yard bomb.
Oh, that's right. That one got tipped though, didn't it? One of those got tipped.
No.
But I don't know if you guys know this.
Tipped by his hands and then hit the ground.
Mahomes got all the guys together this summer in Texas.
Yeah.
They all worked out together.
And now he's an MVP. You tell me what
the
didn't
first
work.
one this week, I think, got tipped. That deep ball.
That Justin Watson showed a lot.
You tell me what didn't work. He's an MVP. They got together. Now he's an MVP. Sounds like it did exactly what they were trying to do.
It's working.
Absolutely. Mahomes in. So the over-unders, we did the actual Vegas lines for these, so we didn't have to really make any up, which is great. Mahomes passing yards, 4,650 and a half. He's already at 4,700.
Whoa. Yeah.
Yep, he's already at 4,700, so he's already passed that. We all had the over, so it didn't matter.
If he's I think it's 390 this week. If it's 390 or 394, he'll break his own passing record.
I mean, that one really, to me, was only just does he get hurt?
Right. Yeah,
he was never not passing that number.
Right, because he had
unless
17
he
games.
got hurt.
He had 17 games.
Ooh, look who knows so much.
And you guys,
you know what I'm saying? That
Well, that's
I
why
remember
we all
saying at the time.
I felt like I wasn't here.
That's why we all took the over. Touchdowns was set at 34.5 in Vegas.
Bye-bye.
He's at 37. We all had the over. Interceptions set at 10.5.
Needs to get to 40. I want him to get out of 40 season.
40 interceptions?
No, touchdowns.
Oh. Interceptions, 10.5.
That one's going to hurt if it stays at 11.
He's at 11. Josh, the only Mahomes hater here, took
Fair
the
enough.
over in interceptions.
Also not a lunch buyer, so.
Me, Mick, and Beards had the under in interceptions. That Broncos game is really going to hurt. That damn Broncos game
And he was
hurts.
on his way to having just this colossal highlight reel game.
Hey, here's Juju.
Oh, Fast Friday. There you go. Everyone's out of the office. Fast Friday.
Go ahead, guys.
Hey, Juju, this is sort of a broad question, but I'm just curious. You've had pretty good few months now to, get to learn Patrick. And how much do you feel like you still see him kind of inventing and doing things that are new to you even now?
Dude, I mean, with him, we're always in the lab. I feel like he's someone that's always coming up with something new. You never know with him. But I definitely would say that, play's never over until the whistle's blown. And with him, his arm is one thing, but his legs are a whole nother, issue that teams have to worry about. And even with us too, like you guys can't, drop out of coverage or lead their man, to stop the quarterback because, he's still looking down the field even though when he's not. So yeah, he's a special individual.
I'm sure you were probably told about that quality of his or knew about it, that the play's never over until it's over with him. But until you play with him, can you ever really appreciate that?
Yeah, like you don't really. People say it, and then when you're actually out there and like doing it with him, man, you never. It's hard to tell people, and for them to not to relate by actually like going out there and actually doing it with him. Because like my teammates and not my teammates, but like my family and friends are like, oh my gosh, like how's Patrick Mahomes? I'm like, he's just a special individual. And for myself, it's just that like, it's just like playing Madden. Back in when you had, Michael Vick who can just run all over the field and launch it 80 yards down the field. It's kind of like that, but for me, it's IRL. It's in real life.
Sort of with that, what's kind of interesting for you, I guess, is, okay, so you've obviously learned this offense inside and out and there's all that, but is there always kind of this little sense of freshness and reinvention all the time with week to week?
Yeah. And it's in every play and every, the plays that we run, week to week is kind of, set up for him to like, do what he has to do. And he has so many options. And like I said, this playbook is to give so many guys opportunities to go out there and play.
When it gets to be out of structure, it seems like he has a knack with Travis where they kind of know where each other are going. Where do you think you're at with him when it comes to the end of those?
I would say I have a good feel. Obviously, him and Travis have been playing for years, now. So, but I think that I'm working towards that, and that's where I want to be at, where how he feels, where he can go to Trav and, on broken down plays and find traps. So, and that's something I feel like, we're working towards that.
We're getting close to the end of the regular season. You had said weeks ago that you'd like to stay in Kansas City. And I guess to take that a step further, what has made Kansas City and the Chiefs organization sort of feel like home for you as you've gone through this year?
Yeah, I just feel welcome here. I think the fan base is unbelievable. Everyone here in the office, as far as like the staff, the people, you guys have been unbelievable to me and just been super nice. And for myself, it's just more so of, I want to be in a place where I can play ball, show my personalities, and just win, man. So, yeah.
Juju, y'all are a tight-knit group in the wide receiver room. Coach Andy Reid told us today that Nicole Hardman suffered a setback on Wednesday. What have y'all done to keep his spirits up and to encourage him?
Just keep him much as around as possible. With Miko, he's one of those guys that, you just got to communicate with him. And he's a strong individual. He's going to bounce back. He's going to, help us, in the long run and stretch. But for someone who's going through some injuries, and I know Miko, he wants to be out there. He wants to play. But at the same time, it's all about the timing, when he's right, when he's ready to come out and help us. But like I said, just the communication, hanging out with him, talking. But like I said, he's around the facility.
How much of that camaraderie is going to carry you over into the postseason?
It helps out a lot, man. Just that chemistry and that bond, between us. And I'll tell you one thing. One thing in our room, there's no selfishness. Man, there's only one ball, and you got all these playmakers, and it's just a matter of time that when your number's called, just make your plays. And everyone, we're all here to win. We're all here for one goal, and that's to chase the ring.
Anything else, guys?
Just one other thing, just about dealing with the cold weather. You'll have to deal with it again. I'm just curious how you gird yourself to catch the ball in that weather. What things you did and do to be ready when it's 10 with wind chill.
Man, it's just the focus, keeping your eyes on the ball, and then I'm a hand warmer guy, so my hands are always in and out, trying to keep my hands warm, staying fresh, and just looking it in and catch the ball. So there's nothing really crazy that I do. I don't put Vaseline on my body. I don't wear the the whole scuba suit for myself. So I got used to it over the times of just being in the league and playing in Pittsburgh and then coming here. I would say it's a lot colder here though.
Do you look to use your arms more to bring it in, or do you feel like it's
me personally, I prefer hands.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a body catch, then it's, a more physical coming across the middle, then I understand that. But, yeah, hands for sure.
Should we be able to look up any surprises from Sunday? I know you did the Grinch thing last week.
For New Year's?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know, man. You never know. We'll see. Hopefully something cool, though.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, there's Juju Smith-Schuster. We know he does not put Vaseline all over his body. So we found that out. Also, so many people make fun of Russell Wilson for having his own office. Turns out Mahomes has his own lab. And they're always in it.
It's a scandal. Yeah, you won't even let him leave.
How do you have camaraderie with people if you're always making them work and you have them always come? Oh, we got to go over to his house again. Oh, shocker, we're going to meet at his house. Oh, we got to go to Mahomes' lab. Always in the lab. So
I think the KC Lab guys might be able to sue, though, so that could be interesting.
Or Mahomes sues.
Oh, that would be bad.
If LeBron can get Taco Tuesday, why can't Mahomes get Lab?
I don't think LeBron did get Taco Tuesday. I'll look into
According to you. And the law, whatever. Who cares? So there you go. There's Juju Smith-Schuster, who is leading the Chiefs in receiving yards for wide receivers by a couple hundred yards with 2 games to play. But you know what? MVS, there's still a chance. Still a chance. Sorry, Beards. No chance for McCole.
Yeah, I didn't figure that one's happening.
I don't think I want to win that one because that would basically mean Juju got hurt.
Or MVS just went off. Just a 99-yard touchdown to
the
MVS.
First one.
He's the one running deep. you throw a couple deep shots to
but
MVS.
Yeah, but then Juju would have to have 0 yards.
Well, it doesn't mean he's hurt. He hasn't exactly been tearing it up the last couple of weeks in terms of receiving yards. Let's take a timeout. We'll finish the ZOU since we got through all of Patrick Mahomes. And we'll get into the Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Travis Kelce and Juju and others and defense next.
Follow the show on Twitter at J810Anderson, at JB Briscoe, at Beards McFly, and at Sports Radio 810. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
No Jason today.
No Jay. I feel like I never see you guys in the same room at once anymore. It's almost like you're
we
the
hate
same
each
person.
other. We actually hate each other.
Go that you're the same person.
No, we actually hate each other.
Yeah.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Andy Reid, Juju Smith-Schuster, McCole Hardman not playing this week. He is out, suffered a setback on Wednesday, groin injury. And Andy Reid says he doesn't, quote, worry about the 21-day window expiring on Wednesday to activate.
I don't think Reid ever worries.
McCole Hardman. I bet he
He's like
worries.
Corey. Corey doesn't worry about anything.
I bet
I've heard.
I bet roughly third quarter of the Super Bowl down in Tampa, Reid probably worried a little bit.
Nah, he knew. He wasn't worried.
You just accepted it at that point.
I'd bet
I'd bet overtime AFC Championship game after T. Higgins' 12-yard catch to convert it to a first down.
Nah, he knew.
He might have worried a little bit at that point.
No, I think he knew. He just didn't worry. I'm like, okay, I've lost before.
What are you going to do?
I guess I'll go get a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
I guess we'll be in the AFC Championship game next year.
Listen, the media's going to be on me, but I'm going to say the word cheeseburger, and everybody's going to laugh.
Mm-hmm. Then I'm going to say
get 'em
chocolate
back.
cake, and we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to get it fixed. And, we look forward to the challenge of this offseason and, on to February. All right, so let's get back into the updates on the ZOU. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire rushing yards, they had it at 700. Currently, he's at 302. He is pacing for 302.
I can't believe he's at 302.
Well, that was all in the first 3 weeks.
He also has 302 touchdowns, so they're all just...
Beards and I were believers for some reason.
Yeah, weird.
We both had the over.
I would have as well.
Really?
Of Edwards-Helaire? Yeah.
Corey, you don't have to admit any of that. You can just pretend that you would have gotten them all right.
I don't want to act like I would have gotten them all right because we know better than that.
Great
So I at least
point.
need to sneak one in there that I would have gotten wrong.
Total touchdowns, we said at 6.5. He's been at 6 for about 3 years. I had the over. Everybody else had the under. He's been at 6 since week 4.
Week 4, yeah.
It's like, yeah, so I'm going to need him to come back next week.
He
Not
had
gonna
to have
happen,
been one of the leading touchdown
Yeah.
scorers in the NFL through the first 4 weeks.
I mean, he was a touchdown vulture. He was getting 2 touchdowns a game when everybody else got him down to the 1-yard line. All right, I guess Clyde can score. Travis Kelce, receiving yards, was set at 1,100. He's already at 1,257. I'm the only one that took the over, you idiots.
Wow.
You guys took the under. No Tyreek Hill, but apparently Travis Kelce was not going to play. It's interesting.
Does seem pretty stupid.
It's interesting the thought process
this
from you
current
guys on that
time.
one. Touchdowns for Travis Kelce. Vegas set it at 9.5. He's already at 12. We all had the over except for Josh took the under.
Travis Kelce hater this year, I guess.
Josh took the under in yards and touchdowns for Travis Kelce without Tyreek Hill. But good call.
I thought defenses were gonna try to cover him this year because Hill wasn't out there, and they said no, never mind. So I get it.
These always make a ton of sense, especially with Mick when he takes everything over for Mahomes,
Yeah.
but then under for all his guys
exactly what I
that
did.
would be catching them.
That's exactly what
Somebody's
I did.
got to catch him. Mick.
Over for Mahomes and under every guy catching the yards. I'm like, there's gonna be some other guys come in like
Justin
Tony,
Watson.
Apparently
right?
he's going to throw
McKinnon,
a bunch to
right?
Noah Gray.
Everybody's gonna have 700 yards. Okay.
Speaking of which, Juju Smith-Schuster, his receiving yards were set at 750. He's already at 877. Josh and I had the over.
See, there we go.
Mick and Beards took the under on receiving yards for Juju because also Juju and Travis
I was gonna
Kelce.
have like 9 guys catch 700 yards. Exactly.
Because you had the over in 4,600 yards for Mahomes.
Oh, shoot past that.
All right, so touchdowns for Juju Smith-Schuster. It was set at 6.5 for him. He's at 3. And Mick and I, the only ones that had the under for Juju Smith-Schuster touchdowns.
He ain't getting there.
That means that Josh and Beards had the over. Beards, you're going to need Juju to get some touchdowns.
I would like that.
Has he had 7 once in his career? Like, wasn't it one time?
He had 1 year with 9,
Oh, did
and
he?
then he had one. His second year in the league, he had 7. A few years ago, he had 9. So, but right now he's got 3. He needs a total of 4 to get over the 6.5.
He can do it.
He could. Leads wide
He needs
receivers in
4 more,
yards.
but yeah.
Yeah, not Kelce, but leads wide receivers in yards.
His first 2 years in the league, he had 7 apiece.
Did he?
Yeah.
Josh and I had Juju. Mick chose MVS, and Beards took McCole. MVS is at 632. Juju is at 877. So you need 240 more.
And
total.
Juju'd have 0.
Yep. Chris Jones,
Totally happy.
sacks. We all said it's a big one. 9.5 is what it was set at. He's at 12, so the over is already hit. That's just Josh and I. Took the over because Beards and Mick also hate Chris Jones.
I feel safe in saying I would have taken the over.
Yes.
On a Chris Jones prop.
You would have said 15.5 over?
Yeah. Over.
Yeah.
31. Over. How is it only 31? He's obviously going to get 31.5.
Did we pick Beards? Did we pick his teams for this? Because it's always you and
We
me.
didn't do great.
And the other 2 are together.
George Karlaftis sacks.
Oh, this is gonna be a swing vote.
Yeah.
We set the over under at 4.5. He has 4.5.
Ooh.
And we decided afterwards, we're like, in
Yeah,
sacks, we don't really need to have a half there
Or
because
you
they
should
already
do
get
a
half.
third or something like that.
Yes, 4.25 is what we should do. 4.5. Beards and I had the under. Mick and Josh have the over.
All right. just
So that
share
would
one.
just be a no bet. So if Karlaftis doesn't get another sack, you two just lose a point.
Or
Beards
half
and
a
I don't
sack.
get one. Half a sack, that's true. Or if they retroactively take one away.
Yeah.
They could do that one. That'd be awesome.
Or add one retroactively.
Could do that too. Team defense, sacks, 37.5. We all
boy.
took the under. They're at 45.
That math definitely didn't add up for me because I was over Chris Jones sacks
I went
and
with
over
trends.
Karlaftis sacks and then under team sacks.
Those are
that
the
one was
only
bad
guys
math.
that were going to get sacks for the
That was
Chiefs.
bad math by me.
It's like you were the exact opposite of Mick and wide receivers. Everybody's going to get the ball, and you only two people.
Gonna
have
hedge my bets here.
That's what I was doing. I was hedging.
Rookie interceptions set at 3.5. They have two for about 7 months, it feels like. They have 2 interceptions. McDuffie's helmet also has one, but that doesn't count. So the under, only Josh. So he's got a point for that one because they need 2 interceptions by rookies the next couple of weeks for the 3 of us to get a point. And then wins 11.5, even though Vegas was 10.5. We're like, let's move it up one more. We all took the over. Probably should have moved it up one more at that. So 2 games remaining. Brisco with 11. Me with 9. Mick with 8. Beards with 5.
And those aren't final points.
Nope.
Those are as it stands right now or projected or whatever.
There are only 2 categories that can swing this thing from Beards having to go and get gift cards. That is Juju touchdowns would get it to 7 for Mick and 6 for you. And no more Karlaftis sacks.
I also need McCall to have one big
would
game in
be-
the last game.
You and
a huge game.
you and
700
Mick,
yards.
you and
that'd
Mick
be
would
no bet.
split. Right, it would take a point away from you.
So all Beards can do is
Beards
tie
does
at
not-
this point.
Beards can only tie at this point.
Wow.
Can split.
Beards is definitely
So
getting
you're
half the
even
gift
though
cards.
even though it's 4.5 right now, you're counting that as a point for
Yes.
someone who
Yep.
went over.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, I am.
So basically, I don't. Juju needs to not get 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, you just don't need Juju to get 4 touchdowns. You're fine.
Karlaftis half sack and Beards is paying basically.
Yeah,
Right?
Karlaftis has half sack or Juju not getting 4 touchdowns. I feel like you're the heavy leader in the clubhouse to not pay. Outside of Josh and I that are definitely already in the clubhouse.
We're hanging out in the clubhouse.
You know what? We're not even leaders in the clubhouse. We've already left
I'm
the
the
course.
heavy. I'm the heavy 3rd place.
I'm in the clubhouse eating Johnny's. Got a little Joe's in there.
Yes,
With the
that's
whole spread.
All right, what do we think about K-State and Alabama tomorrow? We've talked about the opportunity in front of K-State and the joke about, hey, it kind of feels like the Big 12, these games just mean more to them. While that joke is there, Alabama has 2 players that are going to be top 5 picks in the draft that are playing in this, and Will Anderson and Bryce Young, and which is pretty cool. And so, obviously, they want to go out and play well. The line has moved towards Alabama. It moved towards K-State and then back to Alabama. So it went from like 5 down to 3, and now it's back to 6.5 for Alabama. I've said all week that I really like K-State to win outright, just because I think it's such a monumental moment for Chris Kleiman and the Wildcats, whereas I know Will Anderson and Bryce Young are playing, but it's a team that thought they were going to make the college football playoff, and they've made the Sugar Bowl. There's no way you show up with the same intensity, that same level of focus that I believe K-State has had. Especially, even though Will Anderson and Bryce Young are playing, they're about to be millionaires in a few months. Well, I guess they already are.
But they also don't want to go. I mean, from the flip, why would they even bother to play unless they wanted to go out winners?
I agree.
They don't want to lose their last game.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and that's
They're
why you would play.
infinitely more talented as far as like star ratings for recruits. So the talent level should be higher in Alabama. I don't know. The fact that those 2 guys are playing tells me that Alabama's not taking this lightly, and that it does mean enough to them for those 2 guys to play. And I just, if they come out and want to be there, I just think K-State's outmanned. And K-State's had such an incredible season. It would be so great if they could do it. But the fact that those 2 guys are playing makes me think that Alabama just...
Well, I would offer up that not all 100 guys for Alabama will have the same mindset.
True.
And some will be want to win. The others might be looking ahead. And maybe Will Anderson and Bryce Young, they have separate mindsets as well. Hard to quantify. But then also, yes, K-State's going to be outmanned. Everybody outside of Georgia is going to be outmanned, right, against Alabama. That doesn't always matter. I mean, they should have lost to Texas with a backup quarterback. It's a team that lost to LSU. I like K-State in that, like, this isn't just your plucky underdog K-State team that overachieves. They have some dudes. Cooper Beebe is an All-American on the offensive line. They have Enudike Uzama, who is going to be a first-rounder draft pick.
One of the best defensive players in the country.
They have some of the best defensive backs out there as well, and Brent and was it Hayes, Josh Hayes, and then of course Deuce Vaughn. And Knowles is a guy that, okay, maybe not Alabama wide receiver, but that next step, and I think that can absolutely be enough when you have a month of the game plan, you have a good coach, and you have the game of football to where it's not always the draft picks and the 5 stars that win. So I feel like if I say K-State money line, I'm over my skis, but I really feel confident they can cover the 6.5.
Yeah, I like the 6.5. I've been leaning K-State money line, but I'll probably take the points if they're going to be given to me. Josh, what are you thinking?
I've already found my 6.5, and I feel pretty good about that. I would love to say I have confidence in K-State for the reasons you guys have laid out for what it can mean for this program as, again, I've used this analogy before, but an exclamation point on the end of this season for a team that's legitimately building something, and a lot has already been built. Not the plucky underdog, little surprise story, but also it is very hard to look at Alabama uniforms and Nick Saban on the sideline and go, nah, I don't think you're going to win anything.
Right.
I don't think that you're going to do anything in late December, early January. So I really do think that this would mean more for K-State, the program.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Nick Saban's going to have his guys ready. So I have waffled a little bit. I like the 6.5. I'm not going to bet on the money line. I'm going to be excited to watch the game. I think it will be good and close and fully within the realm of upset potential. I'm just not going to put my money on that.
I thought Stan Weber made a good point this morning. He said, hey, who's the best team in the country? I'm like, Georgia. He goes, didn't they have 50 guys drafted last year? And yet they came back this year as the best team in the country. So it turns out they had guys who were backups that were pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's Alabama. So even if guys have opted out or transferred or have, going pro, Georgia had that happen last year too. Not in the playoff because they were playing in the playoff, but those guys stepped up. So Denver, Chiefs, final score? Mick, we'll start with you.
Oh, thanks. You could tell, like, my
Beards,
face
let's start with you.
I don't want to.
Start you, Beards?
Make a prediction.
Chiefs win 3-2.
3-2.
He likes the points. He'll take the points.
Oh, that's still going?
That's his deal.
That's still going?
Yeah.
Okay.
He'll take
Never stopped going.
Broncos and
It's
the points.
going to hit someday.
Broncos. I don't
One day.
think it will.
What's the
Is that a scoregami? I wonder if it's ever happened in the
No,
NFL.
it has happened.
3-2. It has?
It has.
In an NFL game?
Yeah.
No way.
All right, I'll look
Probably
it
in the
up.
like
No,
1930s.
I don't remember when to look at
We
the
got to go. We
website.
got
It's got
cuts.
something.
We got cuts.
No way.
27-13.
What's the spread?
13.5.
13.5.
Oh, Chiefs aren't going to cover that. I will do 27-17 Chef Tones.
27-17.
27-13.
31-10.
Ugh, gross.
All right, on tap this weekend. It is NFL football, big weekend of NFL football. The Bowl's going on, Music City Bowl tomorrow at 11 o'clock, along with the Sugar Bowl with K-State and Alabama, TCU, Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia. Also, the little college basketball activity with KU and K-State playing and opening up Big 12 play, Oklahoma State and KU tomorrow at 1 o'clock, 11:30 pregame right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. What's on tap is presented by KC Beer Company, kcbier.com. Discover all of the award-winning brands. That's kcbeer.com.
Take the show with you by listening live on 810WHB.com, in the 810 mobile app, or by subscribing to The Zone wherever you get your podcasts. The Zone with Jason Anderson.
When does Tommy get the respect Tommy deserves?
Tommy wants respect.
Tommy likey. Tommy want respecty.
Weekdays from 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, let's get some cuts in here. What has happened this week? And I may have thrown one or two in from last week. Who knows? We'll find out. Go ahead, Beards. Cut it up. Danny Shelton.
Shelton Island, baby.
Appreciate that. Right at it.
You know, sometimes I go on the internet.
Sometimes you do.
Good God. I mean, what a stud.
I mean, there's probably only, 30 minutes out of my day where I'm not on the internet.
That's what I think, too. Yeah.
So I had a little functional but toy tape measure.
This is
that you could put in your pocket.
A butt toy?
And a little notebook and a pencil.
I love this.
And when my mom would go shopping, I would go down the toy aisle and I'd be like, okay, here's the TIE Fighter, and I would measure the box and I would write down the dimensions.
That's awesome.
I did this starting at like age 5.
Great.
And then when they weren't looking, I would measure the presents and I'd be like, okay, there's the TIE Fighter.
That was how the Drake prepared for Christmas as a child.
That is unbelievable.
Unreal.
Nerd alert.
I love it.
Me too.
He has this kind of energy, you know. You don't want to it up.
A lot of curse words this week.
You know why we don't do the chestnuts on Christmas anymore?
Why don't we do the chestnuts on Christmas anymore, Drake?
All the trees died.
There you go. To the point.
There were 4 billion chestnut trees on the east coast of the U.S., and between 1904 and 1940, they all died. Big blight.
What happened?
A blight.
Drake was just a fountain of information on Friday, man. I learned so much on Friday.
That's great.
Oh, wow. Those mother bleepers at Reese's did it again.
Yeah.
They did it again. They've never not done it.
That is rich.
Matt Derrick brought candy.
Oh, that's awesome.
He did.
Good for you guys.
Those eggs, right?
Lights, Christmas lights.
Yeah, makes sense.
Egg-shaped. Right now, Renee and I have Scout the dog and temporarily 3 possums.
I'm sorry.
Was he saying I'm sorry or like, I'm sorry I didn't hear that?
Hold on, what?
Possums?
Do you have possums or opossums?
Have you named them?
They're not pets. I mean, they don't have names. We're sheltering them right
Buy
now
a
so
beer,
they can.
dude. I'm not renting at shoes.
So they can.
It's not taking your turn.
Release them into the wild in spring.
My
nipples are freezing right now, but the rest of me is toasty.
It's DK Metcalf in the house.
Max contract. Whoop-de-doo.
Doesn't like the head coach at all.
Wow.
Was that Shane?
You still do your deal over the holidays where you go to people's house and do that deal where you set it on a shelf?
Yeah, I move around each day, and I report back to Santa Claus.
Sit on people's shelves.
It started again. Girlie and Nate can't wait for those conversations to start up because we get one every single week. You go around to people's houses.
Brought a dead one to the back porch one time, so I picked it up to put it in the trash can, and that's when I realized it was not dead.
That's what I thought. A lot of possum talk.
Oh, possum.
My son goes, "Hey, Dad, I just did this to the truck driver." And you know how you do the motion to, pull the horn down, right? Now, I want you to imagine your arm is at like a 90-degree angle, right? Your right arm, you got the fist, you're pulling it down, right? Now, imagine if you take your 90-degree angle arm, just as you would to pull it down, only go right to left like a windshield wiper. And he said, "Hey, Dad, I just did this to the truck driver." And I said, "That's not what that is." I said, "No, this is how you do." I can't imagine the truck driver's response when a 7-year-old is doing this motion. And he was so proud of it. Why didn't he honk at me? That's not the right honking.
The truck driver followed you all the way to Louisville, didn't he?
It was odd. He was so happy. "Dad, I just did this to the truck driver." Like, that's not, don't do that to the truck driver again.
He's in the parking lot of our hotel.
Squeeze me, it says. This is what I'm talking about.
Broncos.
I love that.
In case you guys didn't hear it at home, it said
Unbelievable.
Broncos country, let's ride.
Richard Sherman's Christmas gift.
Great.
The doll of Russell Wilson that said Broncos country.
He was in a Seahawks uniform,
He
right?
was a Seahawks,
It's great.
Russell Wilson.
And the Broncos, and those are the big horsey players, they have the ball, and they're going to see if they can find a way to move it.
Oh, nice.
And so what's happening? Oh, there's Russ Wilson. Oh, no! Oh, that's called an interception.
That's close.
Bobby Wagner. That's not what he wanted to cook.
No, I think he burnt whatever he was cooking. Bobby Wagner with the interception. The SoCal kid back home. Patrick, how exciting is that?
Bobby Wagner coming to town and doing that with his old teammate.
Who was that? Patrick Starr.
SpongeBob.
I bet
The
Brisco,
Nickelodeon game.
I bet Brisco was doing that motion to the truck driver when Patrick was calling a football game.
That's Dauber. Dauber from Coach.
No kidding. It's amazing.
Same actor.
All that for a drop of blood.
Nice. That was a Thanos.
Thanos, the AFC West. I thought for a second it was about to be a Wookiee call from earlier in the week. There's a whole backstory on the Wookiee.
We said that can the players get past the Wookiee wall?
The Wookiee wall.
You shall not pass.
Different sci-fi movie, but I really like the energy here. Lord of the Stars.
Hey, Corey. Happy New Year.
See you guys.
Good seeing you.
College